Welcome to this week's edition of the Swider Insider. I'm your host, Rusty Lindsay, joined as we are before each home football game with head coach Mike Swider. Coach, your team comes off a 51-12 victory over Carroll, but we also haven't got a chance to talk since the victory over Augie, so we'll go back to that. Really just another dominant effort, but what we saw, I think, for the first time was a little adversity for your team, and first time in a couple weeks, coming out in that first quarter and kind of getting punched a few times, and then they responded pretty well in the second quarter and then the rest of the game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Normally we've been getting off to these flying starts and played uncontested. Obviously the North Central game wasn't. We got into a little bit of a war there and Wesleyan and had to fight our way out of a little bit of a hole. But you're right. It was a game that we weren't exactly expecting it to start that way. Let's put it that way. And so that's what created a little bit of anxiety, to say the least. Yeah, we had a punt blocked, I think, and we threw an interception. We went 3 and out, and we were flailing there for a little bit. But our kids gathered themselves, came back. The weather played a role in that. Played the entire game in a torrential downpour and cold weather, and I shouldn't say torrential, but steady rain. And but those are games that are good because you don't know what kind of weather you're going to get late in the year. You know you're going to be in some wars. Your kids are going to have to play under adversity, and so anytime you get practice doing that, it's a good thing. So our kids kept their poise, and we righted the ship against a good football team, and ended up playing well. Just
from a mental standpoint, as a defense, you come out, the offense is getting the kickoff. There's a little bit of, all right, we've got a couple minutes to settle in here, and then they're on the field the next play. With a short field to defend, that's a tough ask of your defense, but as we've seen them do all year, they just went about their business and were off the field when they needed to be.
Three consecutive times because there was a 3 and out and a block, 3 and out because of penalties, and then a block punt. So it was, back to back to back. And so, but, as we've said to our kids, you don't want to get in the habit of fighting yourself out of holes like that. That's for sure.
How big was it to see the field goal go off the upright for them? Because you've had, like you said, 3 straight short fields to defend, and they come out with no points, and all of a sudden you flip, you get the wind, and then it was just the pedal went down, and it was business as usual.
Well, absolutely. Anytime, because I know those kids, they're playing for zeros. They're playing for goose eggs at the end. Those guys on defense, and so there's a little bit of shot of adrenaline when you see that happen, and it's a discouraging thing for your opponent who has got short fields and they can't come away with a touchdown, and then they can't even come away with a field goal. So that took a little wind out of their sails.
You mentioned the penalties. Have the penalties been kind of a point of emphasis as you get later into the year and these games, you start to build towards games where penalties will be a big factor in outcomes? Well,
we haven't just started. We've been, for people out there that think I've been ignoring this, you're talking to the wrong guy, And we've been addressing this weekly basis. We've been doing all kinds of things to try to limit the penalties that have been called on us. So we were we had a decent game last week. It wasn't quite as many, but you're right.
The 60-yard holding penalty puts a damper on that.
But other than that, obviously the number of penalties, I should say, was limited, and. But you can challenge kids, show them tape, penalize them, make them run after practice, and if anybody's got any other ideas, let me know. I think we're heading in the right direction there.
Then you go on the road last week to Carroll, a little shorthanded. You're missing both of your middle linebackers. Wyatt Lee moves over, and defense again, another strong performance in what looked to be cold and windy conditions up there in Waukesha.
Yeah. Well, we not only lost Ryan, but we lost his backup. And that now creates all kinds of issues because it creates issues. His backup was on all the special teams. So we moved Wyatt over from Will and then put our backup Will in. And so we're really playing a game when you factor in the Daniel Herbert thing without all 3 of our linebackers in their home positions. And then the other thing that happens when you get these injuries like that, it's the cumulative effect on special teams. And so we were struggling a little bit. Obviously the score didn't show that, but we were patching some things together that on the sideline and in practice that week that was a little difficult to do. Obviously we were playing too. We've been playing without TJ, and we're playing without Singleton, and we got Stone back. But we've had to patch it together there as well, and so it's good. A lot of kids are playing, but it's frustrating because you want to see your ones out there.
Right. We talked a lot about him coming in, but he's kind of gone overlooked in this defense is the impact that Wyatt Lee's had there at the will. But to have somebody that can slide over to the mic and feel more than comfortable there and gives you that luxury there, that's nice to have as a coaching staff when you run into that problem like you guys had.
No doubt. Unbelievably motivated kid. As motivated a kid as I have ever coached. Into it, into films, into practice. He's going to be prepared, and he's going to be ready to play. And he is a physical kid, and so he's been a real blessing to Wheaton football, no doubt about it.
It's funny when you look at his numbers from last year. There's a chance he finishes, even with a long playoff run, with less than 100 tackles than he had a year before. Is there any frustration on his end that he's not quite getting to the ball as much as he did last year?
No, it's just because other guys are getting there before now. He played on a team that struggled a little bit, and the other thing, he just ran to the ball. I mean, he was the only guy, and he just ran there. Now you got to play gap sound, responsibility-oriented defense, and realize there's a lot of other people around you that can do some things. And he's come up to me many times and said, "I'll trade them tackles for wins any day."
On the other side of the ball, you guys have taken care of the ball really well this year, and then to see 5 turnovers on Saturday, what was really the big thing that you looked at when you went back on and watched the film that was the biggest key to that you can avoid those turnovers moving forward?
To me, it's a sense of urgency. What happens so many times is you can get complacent, because you can turn the ball over and the defense can respond, and it doesn't, the result doesn't sting you. It doesn't say, okay, we just turned over and boom, they got a score, and all of a sudden there's a, see, that's why it's important. And so we've really challenged our kids that, again, it's, you do that against a football team that's better, and just go look and see what happens. And then we had the first-hand example of St. John's, and so hopefully this week our kids got the message. We pulled up a lot of those stats and those numbers and the stuff that happened in that game. Say, okay, see, this stuff can hurt you, and it's costing those people on the high seed, obviously.
As you kind of go down the stretch where it doesn't feel like you've played a real competitive second half minutes since the North Central game. Does a game like St. John's going down, does that kind of give you that shot that you need to remind your guys like there's urgency and on any given week? That was a 2-5 football team going into that game.
We use that. Trust me, we use it. And like I said, if you don't learn from history, you are a fool. And, you go to that game, and like I said, they're sitting in a meeting on Monday, and their coach is saying, here's the importance of details and small things, and their kids are getting the message. We say it, and you win by 30 or 40, and we say it, you don't get the message. Well, we're going to put it up here on the board for you and say, this is reality. This isn't fabricated. This isn't, well, it could have hurt. Here's a football team that was undefeated. There was a top 4 team. Had beaten their big boys on their schedule. Had beat a team that had beaten that team by 50, and all of a sudden they got beat. And so it was a good example for our kids, and it was reality, and it was recent. It wasn't something, well, this happened 10 years ago, or this could happen in your imagination. I always say, I use that 2 words with our players. This is reality. It happened, and it's recent. It happened 2 days ago. So don't tell me it can't happen. And they didn't have any answers.
Is there an additional shot in the arm when they see that and all of a sudden there's a window that we could stay at home for a long portion of the playoffs now? Is there an additional kind of rush that comes with that?
There's no doubt. There's no doubt it does. It's just something else you can fight for and something else you can put out there and say, hey, this is what we're playing for. You want your kids to be mission conscious and focused and goal oriented, and the more of those things you can put out there that are things that can really drive them, the better off you're going to be.
You look at a Carthage opponent this week that seems to lack in identity. The past few years, they've had that go-to identity. They're going to hammer the ball down between the tackles. They're going to force you to play physical on the edge and with the wide receivers to get off the ball. It seems like they're lacking that this year. What have you seen from Carthage on tape?
They're a little different football team. You're right. Just a few years ago, they were lining up and running power 25 times. The old power, man. I mean, they pin and pull and come down with 2 tailbacks and play action with a wide out Remember number 2 that could just go whoosh, right past you, and on defense, play with one high safety, bump you, and bring 5 and 6 every snap. Yeah, that's not, they're a zone read team. That's what they are. They're an inside zone. They run inside zone forever. Zone read, little quarterback keep, and defensively, you're right. It's just they're not that type of football team, and you can see they're trying to discover who they are. They're still a team that can beat you, and at times they can play defense. I mean, they held Wash U to no touchdowns into the fourth quarter, and they put 53 and beat Milliken. So they've shown enough to scare your kids and to catch their attention. And you just don't know what you're going to get. You really don't, Rusty.
Does that make it trickier to game plan against a team that doesn't have that identity, where you just don't know week to week if they might just throw something at the wall just to see if that's something that gets the offense sparked?
Yeah, it's hard. You obviously what you got to do is look at statistics. So you just put all their plays in the computer and go, okay, what do they do the most? Okay, what do they do the most? And let's not defend ghosts. Let's be sound. Here's what they do. We got to stop that, and we got to be gap sound. And if they do something else, apply your rules and do it. But you just can't get in the habit of, like you heard me say it a lot of times, is defending ghosts. Defending maybe could have, would have, should have stuff. Here's what we think they're going to do. They've done it more than the other stuff. Let's be good at it.
Offensively, it looks like their number 1 quarterback's banged up, and makes for an interesting situation where they've got 2 guys that kind of come in and out, but they never really leave the field. They're basically wide receivers playing a Wildcat package that can throw the ball more than a normal Wildcat. So how do you prepare for that scenario when you've got 2 guys on the field, both of them throw the ball, where you've got any number of possibilities there?
Yeah, they don't. It's really a different thing. Obviously, it can create a problem for you, but at the same time, they can't run a round of reps in practice. How much drill are they getting in each of their positions? So, you're right. It creates a lot of stuff, but you're going to get a limited offense when each of them are in there. It's not like it's this huge offense. And they do things distinctively different. And so you can sort of narrow down what's going to happen when this guy's in there and what's going to happen when that guy's in there, and teach your kids those specifics to those people. And but they're quarterbacks that will run the ball, and they are not just Wildcat guys that can't throw it. So that does present a little bit of an issue, but it limits their offense too.
As that kind of snowballs a little bit, when you've got linebackers that are moved around and sometimes playing out of position like you had to do last week, how important then does the communication aspect come down to when you've got someone playing in the middle that isn't used to making those calls and listening to those calls instead? How much do you have to kind of hammer everybody else around them to say, hey, we've got to be aware of, you can't anticipate that it's going to come from the middle like it always does? Well,
I mean, everybody's got to look to the sidelines. Everybody's got to take ownership of it now. And but hopefully we're going to get Ryan here to be able to play this week, and he does present a calming influence. But if he is not, obviously those other guys got to be looking to the boundary to get the call and apply it to themselves rather than waiting for someone to get them right. So there's been a little bit more emphasis, obviously, if Ryan's not out there, in our kids taking ownership.
Defensively, it doesn't look like they have a whole lot of continuity from last year. Like you mentioned, you're used to seeing them come up and play that penthouse or outhouse defense where they're going to jam you and try to get to the quarterback before he can unload. And it seems like that's a style that's not really working for them this year.
That took some really special athletes, man. Really special athletes physically, and then athletes that got a little self-confidence. And then they had some people up front too that they had a long defensive end a few years back, and then they had these big, thick tackles like Dallas. And they're a good football team, but they don't quite dominate, or they haven't dominated like they have in the past. And but they're a good football team, and they're well coached, and they got athletes, and we can't. This is a football team that can legitimately beat us, Rusty. They are a well-coached football team that's got enough athletes that if they do things right and we don't, they can beat you.
How much of that, when you look at how this year has gone is because we talk a lot about just having seniors and juniors on the depth chart. This is as young as they've looked in the last couple of years. That some of that instability and lack of continuity just coming from being that young.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It really is. It's when you're young. There's a lot of things that things go bad out there. Everybody starts looking around, saying, "Hey, what's going to happen now?" And because they haven't been there before, but you look at our defense. And virtually everybody out there has been around the block, and so, there's a more methodical response to issues rather than a panic response.
You're going to recognize a very large senior class on Saturday. What will be the legacy of this senior class when you look back on Wheaton football history and you look at the class of 20? What will be the class of 2020?
Yeah. Well, these guys have weathered some difficult times. They really have. They, as freshmen, they were part of a run all the way to the quarterfinals down there at Mary Hardin Baylor. And part of a great run as freshmen, and they had to weather some tough times. Obviously we were 8-2 the next 2 years, which 90% of America would kill to be, but teams that very easily could have been 9-1, 10-0 teams. And so they had to weather some stuff that was even off the field stuff that was really hard. And to see them now come back and weather that and return to a chance really to be a playoff team and a conference champ and to make a run shows you the resiliency of this team. And so I think if you were to put a word, it's a team that was resilient. It's a team that took some hits, some of it unfair, and responded and didn't go into the tank, hide themselves, feel sorry for themselves, continue to compete, and they've come out back on the backside of this thing, and they are a calloused, focused, and they are a purpose-driven football team right now. Mark my words.
Coming into camp, it felt like there were some big holes in key positions that you needed to replace. And you almost had a calm about you going through camp, almost like you kind of knew that this kind of team was there. Is that because of what this senior class has gone through and their leadership?
There's a chip on their shoulder right now, and it feels like they feel like they got robbed the last 2 years for a variety of reasons. They just felt we've been robbed, and there's an axe to grind, and there's something to demonstrate out there.
If you get to the end of 60 minutes with a win on Saturday, how good will it feel for that group to know that they've got that postseason bid locked in? They've got that conference title, at least the share guaranteed, guaranteed that you can kind of enjoy that as part of the senior day.
No doubt, but knowing these guys,
not enough.
Not enough. Yeah, knowing these guys, it's not enough, and they'll realize that, and it'll be great. But these guys have bigger fish to fry.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time, and hopefully you guys get a chance after this game to get a little bit of that taste.
Absolutely.
And then look ahead for more the next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rusty.
Good afternoon and welcome here to a beautiful afternoon at McCulley Stadium, family weekend on the campus of Wheaton College. I'm Rusty Lindsay, joined by Dan Studebaker. Doug Rothschild will be joined later by Cassidy Thornburg down on the sidelines. And we welcome you into the final home game of the regular season. Wheaton hosting Carthage College. The Thunder coming in 8-0. They're ranked 4th in the country. And it's a lot on the line here for the Thunder after they both got a couple big victories the last couple weeks and then caught a break elsewhere last week. And we'll start with 2 weeks ago, the last broadcast we had here against Augustana. Wheaton comes out with we've kind of been looking for that stumble after North Central because Wheaton hasn't played a whole lot of meaningful quarters of football since they knocked off the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. And we kind of saw it. Wheaton came out a little lackadaisical. They got punched early against Augustana, but as they have all year, the defense stands up tall. They hold Augustana out of the end zone off the scoreboard for 3 straight short field drives, and then it was all Thunder after that. So good to see Wheaton face a little adversity here as we head down the stretch, but this is going to be a game where if they face similar adversity to that, they could be in trouble against a good Carthage squad.
Dana game a couple weeks ago. That is a game that, the weather was not great. It was cold, rainy, and things were going on. But that's a game that we've come to almost expect from Wheaton, right, on a year-in, year-out basis. There's that one game where either the defense or the offense doesn't show up. But luckily they were able to just overcome and just put it on Augie, get past that game, and look forward to the future.
Yeah, well, games are runs of highs and lows. Typically, teams don't play at an elite level for an entire game typically against decent opponents. And Augustana's got a decent team this year, better than they've had in the past, probably a middle-of-the-pack CCIW team as opposed to bottom of the pack. And when those runs happen, you have to weather them. And sometimes they happen at the beginning of a game. Sometimes they happen in the middle of a game. Sometimes they may happen at the end of a game. But in that situation, out of the start, Wheaton's offense did not play particularly well. The team in general didn't play very well, and the defense was good enough to keep them out of the end zone, and Wheaton was able to right the ship and capitalize on it.
You look at the game last week then, Wheaton also a little sloppy with 5 turnovers, though they end up just drumming Carroll, just continuously running the football, and just as that game wore on, the talent gap just kind of proved to be too much for Carroll. But the 5 turnovers is concerning, especially after you come off that slow start against Augustana. So what's Wheaton have to do today to avoid that the slow start trend they've had for the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think they've got to make sure that they take care of the football. Obviously, you've got to look at a game, and you cannot, as a starter, as a team that wants to go where the Thunder are motivated to go, which is a deep playoff run, you can't look at a game like Carroll and say, well, we really dominated them. You have to look at that and say, we cannot be sloppy with the football, especially early in a game against a good opponent, or you're going to find yourself in a hole that you can't recover from in the playoffs. So that's got to be the mindset, is how are we playing, not how is our opponent playing, especially these last couple of weeks. Today, next week, they've really got to be focused on how we're playing. What are we doing? Are we executing? Are we playing clean football? Are we eliminating penalties? Are we taking care of the football? Are we making tackles, not missing tackles? Are we getting off blocks? All of those fundamental things, you can just focus on your own execution.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you're getting to the point now as you're looking towards the playoffs today. A Carthage or a Wheaton win gives Wheaton the CCIW title, and they're getting the Pool A going to the playoffs. Every team is good when you get to the playoffs most of the time, right? So to Doug's point, totally agree with that. I mean, you just have to do you. You have to take care of the ball. You have to stop people on defense and just do a really good job of doing what you do well. Can't focus on what other people are doing because everyone's good at that point.
Wheaton also gets the benefit of learning a lesson by not making the mistake to learn the lesson, as they found out last week when Concordia Moorhead goes and knocks off St. John's despite being heavily outgained, having only 3 completed passes in that game, and they go out there and they block a couple kicks, return one for a 2-point conversion, they block another one in overtime. So Wheaton gets the benefit of looking at that game and saying it's doable, because if you look at it, coming into that game, that was a 2-5 Concordia Moorhead team and an undefeated St. John's team that had gone through the meat of their schedule with Bethel and St. Thomas. So Wheaton can learn that lesson without having to suffer the consequences like St. John's does.
Yeah, there's no question. Coach Swider addressed it really well in the Insider when he talked about it, and he was able to use that as a live example. Hey, this is what happened just this past Saturday to a team that is ranked right around where you're ranked. They didn't come in prepared to play, and they lost a home game to a 2-5 team. that they dominated in every way but on the scoreboard. And so, and this senior class has had that experience of having a team that on paper wasn't as good as them beat them. And so they have that taste in their mouth, and to be reminded of that by a top team in the actual results this past weekend in that St. John's Concordia matchup is a super important reminder. And Swider talks about this senior class being extremely motivated, having a chip on their shoulder that they're not going to settle. But again, that just goes back to, as we've talked about already, what's their execution going to be? What's their level of play? And that motivation has got to be really cause them to focus on their technique on each and every play.
For Wheaton, like you mentioned, you mentioned this would be one of those games that they would have similar to WashU last year. A game that you should win, but it's a game that's losable. And this is a Carthage team that's a little bit hard to figure out. And the fact that they've been up and down with their results, they were botched 2-point conversion play away from beating Oshkosh on the road to open the season. They've held WashU out of the end zone until the fourth quarter in that game up in Kenosha. And then it's the team that gets throttled by North Central, and it's the team that there's no week-to-week identity with this Carthage team, which on one hand you look at it and say, well, that's beneficial because this isn't the Air Carthage team that you know is coming out and can stick it to you. On the other hand, this is a team that week-to-week is as dangerous as any team in the CCIW.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this is a team that can beat Wheaton, and they play well here at McCauley Field. They have played well traditionally here, so they're going to come in, ready to play, emotionally high, and the Thunder have got to come out and step on them very quickly and execute. Otherwise, you don't want to get into a dogfight with a team and allow them to build their confidence throughout a game over you.
Well, and I mentioned in the broadcast, and I now realize I'm incorrect after we talk about St. John's going down, and this is a team that Carthage has stung Wheaton in the past. I mean, 2004 they ran the ball 58 times for 250 yards or something like that. Just kept the ball. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They know what they want to do, and to Doug's point, they have athletes on both sides of the ball that can beat you. So Wheaton just has to come out and get their job done. That's it. That's the point of the game.
And on the flip side, Wheaton has won their games this year on the backs of an offensive and a defensive front that have controlled the line of scrimmage for the balance of games. In the North Central game, we saw early in that game it was a duel, and maybe even slightly in the first half towards North Central. But in the second half, that defensive line, that offensive line took over against Illinois Wesleyan, against the best teams we've played. We've dominated up front. And that's the foundation of this football team. The difference this team has, we still have, I think, exceptional playmakers at most of the positions. TJ Williams is as good a running back as you will ever see at Division III. You've got a guy who's making great decisions and taking care of the ball in Luke Anthony. You've got some playmaking wide receivers on the defensive side of the ball. You've got linebackers who can run. But the base of this defense and offense that's going to carry this team as far as they can go is the fact that they can control the line of scrimmage against even very good teams.
Let's start with the defensive side of the ball for Wheaton. The Wheaton's front four we've talked about all year has just been outstanding, and it's hard to find new superlatives to heap on them, but that front four has been as good as there is in Division III, and I think that's probably the best way to put it. Pat O'Connell, Dallas McCray, Jake Holliday, and River Schindeldecker have been terrific. And against the team, against the Carthage front, that today is going to start a couple freshmen, and you're going to see a lot of freshmen work in here. A young, inexperienced front in Carthage. This is a front four that should be able to have a field day in the Carthage backfield today.
Well, you look at number 54 is the guy that jumps out on film, Dallas McCray for Wheaton's defense, but standing right next to him is Jake Holliday, who's having as good a season as maybe any D tackle that plays like he does in Wheaton's history. I mean, you've got between the two, you've got 78 tackles and 22 and a half tackles for loss. I mean, that is just that's nearly impossible to overcome as an interior offensive line, and I fully expect them to control the line of scrimmage today and just eat, as we said.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you look at you can't find enough superlatives to talk about this defensive line, but what you can do is just look at their production. The production of this defensive line, usually if you have one guy who's got 30 or 40 tackles at this point in the season, then that's pretty good. You've got four guys across the board who are among the lead tacklers on this entire team. If you looked at the entire defense this is the number one ranked defense in the country, and four of the top seven tacklers are these four guys. That is insane. in terms of defensive football. That's really incredible. And the tackles for loss, the sacks, every one of these guys is putting up numbers individually that are dominant. And if you compared them, I'm quite certain if you compared them to any of the individuals on the nationally on any of the defenses, that they would be quite favorable as well. So that's how you really would measure these guys, and there is based on their production.
Well, and you have very capable on Wheaton's defense. You've got 3 linebackers who are playing very, very well. They make tackles in space, but and we've dialed up. Wheaton has dialed up the blitz at the absolute right time, and the defensive backs have just done a great job in coverage. They pick the ball off when it's thrown at them. They knock it down, and it's just incredibly difficult for a quarterback to get comfortable against this Wheaton defense.
Yeah, no question. And that's going to be the case today. Carthage is without one of their quarterback who started several of the games, Klein, big, tall number 9 kid who has been very productive, and they've been playing. Last week they played with North Central with two different guys, Jalen Dennis and Billy Drury. And those are the guys that will play today. And they're just not as talented as the quarterbacks and not as experienced. So it limits what they're going to be able to do a little bit. And against this Wheaton defense, you don't want to be limited.
No.
How much does this big front four that can cause so much problems when you have to play assignment football in an RPO offense, like what they will run with these 2 quarterbacks, when your front four can just be so disruptive, how big is that to let your linebackers be able to fly to the football and be able to get clean reads the way they need to in an option offense?
Well, it's huge. I mean, Dallas McCray in the center there is just so disruptive. You can't block him with one guy. And Jake Holliday is the same. I mean, he's just such a big body that takes up a ton of space, and they keep guys off of the secondary and the linebacker. So even if a linebacker makes a poor read, he has time to make up for it and come downhill because there's just nobody there to block them. They just do such a great job of getting in the backfield and getting in the way that there's just free roam.
You look at, we'll get into this a little bit during the broadcast, but away from Wheaton, the first regional rankings come out this week. Wheaton sits second in the North, which is no surprise with a Mount Union there. However, we've seen in the past there's a lot of inclination to send Mount Union to be the 1 seed in the East. So Wheaton, for the first time in a long time, has a road to a number 1 seed. How important is it for Wheaton to not only hold that road by winning, but also to do so in a way that sets them up to be that number 1 seed and to have that playoff run that they look like they should be able to have?
Well, it's extremely important for them to win because winning percentage is going to be the number 1 criteria. Next is going to be who they're going to be compared to. If they're able to win today and next week against Elmhurst, getting a 1 seed is really going to be subjective relative to what the criteria of the committee is and how they're going to analyze these teams. They're going to be really up against teams like Salisbury and Muhlenberg. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Mount Union and Mary Hardin Baylor will be 1 seeds. With
this time, we're going to send it down to the track. The national anthem today being performed by the Wheaton College Women's Chorale.
Everyone, please stand for the presentation of our colors by the
Can they hear him?
ROTC. Okay. Following the presentation of the colors, the national anthem will be sung by the Wheaton College Women's Chorale.
He does know that we are broadcasting in here when he does that, right?
Can you stop doing that? Like, send him a text.
Welcome back here to McCulley Stadium. The national anthem performed there by the Wheaton Women's Chorale as we get set. Doug, you look at this game, what are going to be your biggest three keys for the Thunder here today?
Well, I think the biggest three keys are fast start, take care of the football, and establish the running game. I mean, those three things are the things that I would want to see from Wheaton on the offensive side of the ball. And what about defense?
Defensive side of the ball, I mean, it's just going to be like we talked about with those front four. If they control the line of scrimmage and do what they've done all season, they're going to make it very difficult on Carthage to get anything going. I mean, they don't run the ball very well. They give up a lot of yards on defense. It's going to be really tough to get anything going. But as we talked about in the pregame, they're going to try to take big shots at Wheaton, and Wheaton just has to make sure that they don't get hit with a home run.
You look elsewhere in these games, especially in the North region right now, Baldwin-Wallace trailing 14-0 against Ohio Northern. John Carroll and Heidelberg tied at 3. A couple other big ones to watch. Mary Hardin-Baylor hosting Texas Lutheran. Texas Lutheran already has a win this season over Hardin-Simmons, who came a second away from knocking off Mary Hardin-Baylor a couple weeks ago. And then the one to watch in the conference will be Illinois Wesleyan at North Central. And I think going into this season with a healthy Brandon Bauer, you get a better feel for Illinois Wesleyan going into that game. But without Brandon Bauer, you just don't get the feeling like Illinois Wesleyan's going to be able to give North Central the fight they're used to giving them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game to see. I think Wesleyan's defense is still quite capable, and they do some things defensively that could be a challenge for North Central. But the biggest thing is, Wesleyan runs an offense that takes advantage of, I think, areas that North Central can be exploited. They play a lot of man coverage, Wesleyan or North Central does, especially with Jake Beasley on the backside of formations. And Wesleyan has probably 3 of the most talented receivers in the conference. Just a matter if they have a quarterback and get it to them. So that'll be an interesting game to watch.
Wheaton wearing the all-orange uniforms today, orange tops with white numbers outlined in blue, the orange pants with the blue and white stripe down the side. Carthage wearing their road gray sets, gray tops with red numbers outlined in white, gray pants, the red and white stripe down both the pants and the shoulder pads, red helmets with the Carthage C shield on the sides, Wheaton with the blue hats, the W on one side, the numbers on the other, on a beautiful November afternoon for football here at McCulley Stadium. Temperatures around 45 degrees at kickoff, a little bit of a wind moving from our right to left, which will be at the back of Griffin Bowes as we start today. But for November 9th, you really can't ask for anything better than what we've got today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Not a lot of wind as a factor. Should be a great day for college football.
Yeah, it just feels like football weather, right? We kind of skipped the fall here in Chicagoland, but it's a nice day here at 45, as Doug said, and should be a great day.
Griffin Bowes has it teed up. They'll have to hold it with all the wind, and a high end-over-end kick, and they will call for the fair catch at the 7-yard line. So Wheaton's coverage unit's one of the best in the country. Their kickoff return giving up just under 15 yards per return. Their kickoff return unit leads the country in kick return average, so that fair catch rule being used a lot more as the season wears on against this Thunder unit. And we'll see the Carthage offense for the first time today. You'll see 2 quarterbacks, but they're both stay on the field a lot. You'll see Jalen Dennis wearing number 7 and Billy Dury wearing number 3. It'll be Dennis to start, Dana Fontenot on his left hip, 3 wide receivers. As we get set to go, first play from scrimmage here this afternoon. Snap is back. They will play fake. This is Dennis looking over the middle of the field, and it is completed against Spencer Rowland to Javon Stricker. So like we mentioned up front, they're going to take chances off play action, and they do so right out of the gates.
Yeah, that's their guy. Stricker is going to be the playmaking receiver on the split end side that they're going to match Caden Sigler up with in the man-to-man coverage, but that's their playmaker.
Quickly to the line, 4 wide receivers. Dennis in the backfield, then move Fontenot to his right hip. Looking over the middle, pocket collapses. He's going to run with Holiday chasing him. He's going to be tripped up and high steps out of that, but then chased out of bounds by Luke Gamicha. I might have lost half a yard or so, but you've got 2 guys who have experience both at wide receiver and now quarterback, so they're both athletes, and Dennis does a nice job evading the pocket there. And now we will see Billy Dury for the first time. Dennis completing 55% of his passes, Dury completing 44% on 2nd and 11 here for the Redmen. Play fake, they're going to shoot right through the hands of Eddie L., who gets to start today with the scratch of Brett Patton.
So no fear from Carthage coming out of the gate. They're coming in shooting for big plays here. They're slinging the ball around early. You can see just on these first bit of play selection, they're not trying to establish the run. They're going to try to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands and hit him in open windows.
Dury with a fastball right through the hands of the freshman there. 3rd and 11. Dury will face forward. They're setting up the screen, and it is completed, but there is no screen in front of him. That's Sam Limbaugh, the tight end, with nowhere to go. And Wheaton gets off the field after the first play, and that'll bring on the punt unit for the Redmen.
Just a really good job of playing assignment football here. I mean, the hope of Carthage is that you get Wheaton's defense upfield as they did and just dump it right over the top of them. But great play by the linebackers to flow, stay with their man, and make the tackle for just a small loss.
Jalen Dennis is going to do the punting duty. Their normal kicker, David Collins, suffered a concussion in a tackle attempt against North Central a couple weeks ago. So Dennis does the punting, and this one is into the wind, and with not much spiral, that's going to sail out of bounds short of the 40. That'll be a punt of around 17 yards, and Wheaton going to have really good field position to start their first drive of the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to not have your starting kicker out there, and it's unfortunate he's both the kicker and the punter. So they have an inexperienced guy kicking the ball, and into the wind, what breeze there is, not a great result on the first attempt.
So there's good to see TJ Williams back behind the quarterback as Luke Anthony goes under center to start the game. TJ missed last week, was a little banged up against Augustino. They will bring pressure on the first play of the game, and Williams makes one guy miss, makes the second guy miss, and ducks inside for a nice 4-yard gain to start the game for the Thunder offense.
You see it's an unbalanced line to start. In other words, there's an uncovered offensive tackle on the left. The tight end and receiver on the line of scrimmage out to the field, so that's an indication of an obvious running play at the start.
What we saw there from Carthage is what they like to do. They like to bring a ton of pressure up front, try to get people off of their game, and good job by Wheaton picking that up and TJ to gain a couple yards.
And TJ gets the carry on second down, and he's going to be brought down in the backfield. A nice play made on the blitz by Joe Montoya, who comes off the backside of that play, and Wheaton will have 3rd and 7 here for the Carthage Redmen. They start with 3 down linemen, freshman defensive ends Johnny Ambrosio and Jake Lamp, the defensive tackle Dylan Ramirez. You'll see Montoya and Steven Shipp, the linebackers, the nickel backers, a freshman Jake Tomzak, and then Bobby Baker and Jeremiah Baker, the corners, Damon Lomelli and Galvin Hoops, the safeties. Stone Watson in the game here, 3rd and 7. They will just bring 3. Anthony all day to throw. Very clean pocket. Looking to run. Now he drops off to Watson, who makes the catch and stumbles forward for a first down at the Carthage 37-yard line.
Great job by the offensive line of Wheaton to keep Anthony totally clean on that. He had tons of time. Looked like he was going to tuck and run, but then just shot at the Stone Watson, who makes a great play heading upfield and just bursts for a few extra yards. Good to see Stone Watson back in the passing game. Really nice player.
Well, they blitzed 3, and the one guy bailed out with Watson. It was almost just a 2-man rush there for Carthage. They will give to Stone Watson here. Had a hole for a second, but a nice shoestring tackle made by Steve Shipp for a gain of maybe a yard there before Watson could break free into the second level.
So they're playing this 3-man front to start with 3 linebackers kind of stacked behind it, a 3-3 stack, and they do that to try to confuse the offensive line with who's going to be the 4th rusher. The down linemen like to know who the 4 down guys are. The 4th guy is actually one of these linebackers, and so they can change the combinations and confuse them, and you've seen a little of that early.
Watson the lone back under center Anthony. 3-man drop, looking right, and down he goes. Brought down from behind by Shipp, and that'll back him into 3rd and long all the way back at the 40-yard line.
Just didn't seem like Wheaton knew what was going on in their own backfield there. Stone Watson looked to be potentially in an option type of play or accepting a handoff, but was totally a non-factor in that play as he tried to come up and make the block, but just
looked like the tight end might have run the wrong route there because the offensive line went into a cut block, and it was a 3-step drop. The ball didn't come out as Miller headed downfield instead of looking back to the quarterback. 3rd and 14. 4-man rush. Flag comes down, thrown way over the head of the intended receiver, and we will wait and see what the flag is.
Could have had a Carthage guy jump a little bit early. No, but they're indicating it's against Wheaton. False start. Looks like I would probably decline that, but it brings up a 4th down behind the stick, so Swider will decide to punt this. Not great execution early, not good recognition of a front that they did play. Carthage played this 3-man front against North Central last week. So Wheaton has seen it on tape, and these first few plays that they've seen it, they didn't execute very well in terms of blocking assignments, getting quarterback pressure, as well as some breakdowns in the running game.
So this is where Bickle excels. An opportunity to pin Carthage deep. Drops in on his foot, lets the wind do the work, angling to the near side, bounces out of bounds before it can get to the 10-yard line. So we've seen Bickle have a lot better efforts than that. It will be inside the 20, which is his 18th punt landing inside the 20 this year. Over half of his attempts have forced long fields for the opponent.
It's very, very, very helpful for a football team when your punter is as good as John Bickle has been. I mean, he when you can call your punter a weapon, he can change a game.
So Dennis is back at quarterback here for the Redmen. 4 wide receivers, split 2-by-2. Second possession of the game for Carthage, moving into the win. Long play fake. Now Dennis looking to the near sideline. Pass is complete to Pat Murphy. And Murphy's going to be dropped after a first down gain of 12 across the 25 to the 27-yard line.
And what you haven't seen early from this Thunder front is a type of penetration that they have been getting against most teams. And that's allowed these Carthage quarterbacks to get a little bit comfortable back there and look around and try to find the open guys.
On the replay there, you saw the referee missed a pretty bad hold on River Schindeldecker as he blew right past the left tackle, but just was getting dragged, or was trying to drag the left tackle with him, and that sort of hurts the penetration.
Jury into the quarterback spot here on 1st and 10 from the 27. And it will be a delayed handoff to Fontenot, which is quickly swallowed up by Jake Holliday, who beats Jalen Gales across his face and drops him for a loss of 2.
Really nice play. Actually, they're trying to double team him, and the right tackle for Carthage is in no man's land, and Jake just slides right off that guard's block and gets him in the backfield.
2nd and 12 here, and they stick with Dury at quarterback. 2 wides to the left side. Fontenot on his left hip. He play fakes and rolls to the left side, chased by Holliday and Schindeldecker. Flag comes down in the backfield.
They're definitely going. Jake Holliday drew a hold there, as you see on the far side camera as he's walking back. His pads are exposed as he got his jersey nearly ripped off.
And that'll back Carthage up into 2nd and 23.
He's been unbelievably active today so far. He's hit the quarterback twice, chased him on another, and had a tackle for loss there. And they just can't block the guy.
And that's what you would expect to see over the course of a game when you've got a defensive front like the Thunder does. That talent, speed, explosiveness is going to take over at some point.
And now Carthage well behind the chains, backed up to their own 14. They stick with Dury as quarterback. Clock running 9:10 left here, first quarter. Scoreless game. Wheaton hosting Carthage here on Senior Day and Family Weekend at McCulley Stadium. Back to pass. Dury's going to unload the screen pass to Stricker underneath. And Stricker not a whole lot to go as Wheaton playing very soft coverage, and it'll bring up 3rd and long for the Redmen.
Carthage has shuffled a little bit of this offensive line around with starting right guard. Typically this season, Travis Werner is bumped out to tackle, and Jalen Gales, a freshman, is moving in and starting at right guard. So they've got a little bit of a new combination on the right side of that line to go along with Ferraro, Roberts, and Neville at the center and the left spots.
Gales, freshman, Ferraro, Warner, seniors, Roberts and Neville, sophomores. Up front for Carthage. 3rd and 19 from the 18. Wheaton will bring 4. This is Dennis going across. The middle is complete, but well shy of the first down. Wheaton again playing soft coverage and happy to give up that completion and get off the field. So the penalty ultimately proves costly for Carthage as they will be forced to punt into the wind for the 2nd time today.
Yeah, no fear throwing the ball, though. They definitely have thrown the ball a lot more than they've run it so far. Looking like that's, and if I'm the Carthage coach, that's probably their best chance to do some damage against this Wheaton defense, is throw the ball and get it out of the quarterback's hands quickly.
Dennis keeps this one low, and it hits the back of his gunner and will die at the 44-yard line.
Yeah, you can just tell with the injury to Carthage's punter that this is just not a strong suit for the guy kicking today. It's just, that's 2 bad punts in a row right into the wind, but just not a field position battle that they're winning right now as Wheaton gets its 2nd start near the 50-yard line.
I think the biggest thing is when you've got a punter, you got a guy who knows how to release the ball off his foot. These are just just sent off.
Just kicking.
When
yeah.
you don't have a clean release into the wind, it'll shorten your punts in a hurry. 3 wide to the left side. That's Tarini Lean and Terrell Brown, and that is broken up on the quick hitter. Wheaton playing without Phil Nichols today, so you will see a lot more of Terrell Brown, Matt Tucker, and Nate Magnuson working in there.
Looks like he got there a little early, and the refs let that go. But again, you got to be physical and get to your spot, and that ball's got to be put in the right spot, and it should be a completion. And Carthage guy got there a little bit early. But this is going to be Carthage game plan on defense. They are going to be aggressive. They're going to attack the line of scrimmage. They're going to blitz and pressure you and try to make you make mistakes and get negative plays.
Damian Lamelli making that play, the freshman safety, and now we've got a flag pre-snap again.
I think they're going to get Carthage for that one. I mean, you had 2 guys across the line of scrimmage, and Wheaton was Wheaton were statues. It's going to be tough to Doug. To Doug, to your point, is they're going to have a lot of trouble beating Wheaton one-on-one on the line. They're going to have to bring guys and try to create mismatch with bodies, and they've done a good job of that so far, and they've made clean tackles near or in the backfield.
Lean and Tucker to the right side. Tarini and Caleb Brink to the left side now on 2nd and 5. They do bring pressure. It's picked up by Clay Wagner. Clean pocket delivered, completed to Tucker. Breaks 1 tackle, and he's going to be brought down at the 36-yard line. Matthew Tucker makes his 6th catch of the year and puts Wheaton into Carthage territory.
And this is going to be the opportunity. They brought that backer off the outside. Clay Wagner slides out and gets him, giving him enough time. They're running crossing routes, a scissors route, the 2 inside receivers across the middle of the field against man coverage. And if you get time, those are going to be open regularly.
Now they're going to go empty backfield 5 wide with Jeremiah Tucker into the game at quarterback. Stone Watson is slotted to the left side. 3-man rush. Tucker will take off on the design draw. Tucker with room, bouncing to the outside 30. He's going to have a first down, and he's pushed out of bounds at the 24-yard line. So they spread the field, give him a lot of room, and Tucker shows his speed with an 11-yard run.
That's a great change-up against this front. The 3-man front, spread them out, and you get effectively a running back there with your 5 offensive linemen. That puts this defensive front in a lot of pressure to spread them out with no back like that.
And you get multiple double teams at the point of attack, and Jeremiah Tucker just needs to make one guy miss, hit the hole, and then look for his blockers.
Now they will bring pressure. It's a give on the sweep to Stone Watson. Stone to the near side, 20, cuts inside 15, 10, and he's hit hard and dropped inside the 10-yard line. But good to see Stone Watson hit that full speed stride, and he puts Wheaton into the red zone for the first time today.
This is a great package change up against this front. Very difficult to defend this this wildcat look with Tucker, who also has the ability to throw it, and this 3-man defensive front.
Burt McJunkin into the game. He'll be split left as Anthony returns in the backfield with Stone Watson. Tarini slotted inside a lean to the right side. 1st and goal from the 9. Blitz coming, high snap. Anthony, I think, wanted to give it to Watson, but the high snap threw the timing off, and if he did give it, Watson's got a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah, he sure would have had an opportunity for that.
Yeah, just that high snap throws the play off entirely. Anthony wasn't even able to give it to him as the Stone is ahead of him before the ball was even in play.
But these are the little things we talked about. That kind of execution against a good team in the playoffs eliminates a scoring opportunity. So these are the kind of things you got to focus on, is how well you're playing.
Tarini in motion behind the quarterback. They'll swing it out to Tarini near side inside the 10, tight roping the sideline down to the 6-yard line, so they get all that back and then some, but not a whole lot of room to run that play to the near side.
Yeah, Doug, I totally agree. I mean, we've talked about this for a couple of years now, and it's gotten a lot better this year, but that center quarterback exchange has bitten us several times. And right there it happened again. Now luckily it didn't go over his head. He was able to secure it, but that totally blows the play up. You need to have that down.
3rd and goal from the 6. TJ Williams motions into the slot. They go left side, and that is in and out of the hands of Terrell Brown.
Yeah, the receiver on the break, Luke Anthony throws the ball on time, as he should. Slightly behind him, but it was on time, and the receiver didn't get his head around quickly enough. And again, you're missing Phil Nichols today, who's sitting out, and that hurts you in that situation. He's a veteran receiver. He's going to run that route. You have a younger guy in there. He just doesn't get his head around quite quickly enough, and it results in an incompletion, Carthage guy ability to knock that down.
So it's Griffin Bowes on for a chip shot from the left hash, and that kick will be through for Bowes. Makes it look pretty easy, and Wheaton gets the first score. But again, like you mentioned, probably would have been a touchdown on the handoff to Stone Watson, and instead it ended up with 3.
Well, 2 small little execution things, just, the center quarterback exchange on the handoff, and then on the third down there, the slant pass, getting your head around and being prepared for that ball to be there. It surprised the receiver a little bit. Those 2 things are just very small details, but it's going to be the difference between it being a championship football team in the playoffs and not.
Well, and when you're the quarterback in an offense like this, and in any offense past high school, basically, you don't throw to guys, you throw to routes, and that's what Luke Anthony did right there. And Terrell Brown just was not ready when he should have been. He just needs to be ready that, hey, I'm at the point where I'm supposed to be ready to catch it. Just wasn't quite ready.
So Bowes again having to have this held with the wind today. And he will pound this one end over end. Fair catch already called for. It'll be a touchback as it goes back into the end zone. And they'll bring it on out as Griffin Bowes. That'll be touchback number 26 on the year.
So big series here for the Thunder defense. Again, I think they got to get off the field quickly and figure out a way to attack this short passing game that Carthage has come out with. Just be aggressive here and tighten up their coverage a little bit.
And it'll be Dennis in the backfield. Starting the third drive for Carthage, he will give to Fontenot on the sweep. Fontenot dropped the football. It came out loose, and Wheaton's got the ball at the Carthage 32-yard line.
That would be getting off the field quickly, Doug.
Ref's calling him down by contact.
That ball was coming out before he went down. Caden Sigler comes out with the football. Ball's out right there. That's not even close to down by contact. That's a terrible call. Luke Gamicha is going to get credit for the tackle, but he should have got credit for the forced fumble.
Well, again, you got to play through those situations. Second down and short now, and you got to play defense.
Ends up as a gain of 6, and the Carthage offense stays on the field at their own 31-yard line. Dennis out of the gun, Fontenot on his left hip, as they will hand and nowhere to run.
Goodness.
Swallowed up by River Schindeldecker. And they will lose all the yards they just gained.
Great job by River. He does a great job getting off the ball. If you watch him, he gets a feel for the quarterback's cadence as well as watching the ball. He has been called a few times for offsides, but by and large, he does a great job of getting off on the football, which is such a huge component of a great defensive lineman's production, is being able to get off on the ball.
3rd and 10 here. Rowland shows press coverage at the line. Ball on the 25-yard line on a jump.
False start, yeah.
Make it 3rd and 15 here for the Redmen.
Carthage shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, playing behind the chains against this defense. Not a great thing.
After the penalty, it's 3rd and 15 for Carthage.
Had 3rd and long last drive, and they'll face it again here after they gained 6 and caught the break on the fumble that wasn't. They'll need the 35 for a first down. 4 wide receivers. Back to pass goes Dennis out of the gun. Chased out of the pocket. Pocket collapsing. Looking for somewhere to go.
Boy.
What a great play, though, by Schindeldecker again to hold the line right there and allow O'Connell to circle back and make the play from behind.
Dallas McCray up slow.
Tackle for the Thunder defense.
And quarterback looking for somewhere to run, and Schindeldecker stood up. It looked like Drew Neville, the tackle, and didn't allow the quarterback, Dennis, to get a clean look on where he wanted to escape.
Great job by Pat O'Connell just not giving up on that play either. Quarterback breaks the pocket and starts to run, and from right behind you see O'Connell like a missile coming at him.
Low snap picked up by Dennis, gets the kick away, very short. Bounces at the 43 and takes a right turn out of bounds at the Carthage 47. So a big drive here for the Thunder. They've got to put 7 points on the board on this drive as they're starting on the Carthage side of midfield.
Yeah, we're looking just for better execution in both the run and the pass game for the Thunder. They had at the beginning of the last drive, they stalled down in the red zone due to a couple of mistakes. So they just want to clean that up and try to go down and get a touchdown here.
TJ Williams and Stone Watson splitting Luke Anthony in the backfield on 1st and 10. They marked it out at the Carthage 46-yard line. Carthage will bring pressure with 5. Anthony well protected. Throw gets complete to Tarini. Makes the catch and out of bounds down to the 33-yard line. Completed against the corner, Bobby Baker.
Interestingly enough, this Carthage defense, 2 of the leading tacklers are their 2 corners, the 2 Bakers, Jeremiah and Bobby Baker. Not related. One of them's from Georgia, the other's from Florida.
It's good to see TJ check back into the game. This is he only took 2 carries on the first drive and has been sort of ginger on the sideline with his ankle.
1st and 10 now at the Carthage 33. They will play fake off of TJ rolling out, and they complete it to Burt McJunkin. McJunkin lowers the shoulder out of bounds inside the 25. And a nice 7 to 8 yard gain there on 1st down coming across the formation.
Nice job by Luke Anthony reading blitz off the edge, and quarterbacks often can get surprised when they've got a play fake and they've got a blitz coming off the edge, and what you teach them is right before the snap, when they know it's play action, they're going to have a hot receiver in the flat. Take a look and see if you're getting pressure, so you need to know if you speed that up a little bit. Good job recognition there by Luke.
2nd and 2 now down to the 25, and you've got movement again, and I think this is again going to go against Carthage. Carthage came across the line and Anthony backpedaled seeing it, and again, that's the 2nd offsides penalty against the Redmen, and this time it'll be a Wheaton 1st down to the 20-yard line.
It's a good play call with a hard count by Wheaton there to get these guys who they know that they have to pin their ears back to get into Wheaton's backfield, and Dylan Ramirez right over the ball jumps off sides.
Give us to TJ Williams, nowhere to go. It's Steve Shipp in the backfield, brings him down short of the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of a yard on 1st down, and Shipp's had quite a first quarter getting into the Wheaton backfield.
Well, when you don't block guys that are part of the defensive front, that's what you're going to see, and that's just an offensive line issue. They're not recognizing who's who and playing assignment football. Somebody's an unblocked player, and TJ just had no chance.
We're going to have 3-3 stack look. Now they're showing blitz. High snap. Give again to TJ Williams. Cuts it back across the center. Lowers the shoulder and spins inside the 15 down to the 14. So that'll be a 7-yard gain there and gets them back on schedule for 3rd and a short 5 as we go inside the last minute of the first quarter.
Much better recognition there. Again, they picked up the right guys, and when you give TJ room to run, he's going to get 7-8 yards. At least.
So Matt Tucker into the game. 3 wide receivers to the left side. Anthony under center with TJ Williams to lone back. Carthage brings 6. They hand off to Williams. Williams with the seam 10, 5, angling to the goal line, and he's going to carry tacklers into the end zone. Touchdown, Thunder.
The guy just has an unbelievable ability to make people miss, and when he gets hit, he gets glanced. You know, he never really gets squared up, and he's just able to chew up yards so quickly, like you said, 7 to 8 yards at least. And it's like his bad runs, it's like 5, right? I mean, he's able just to explosively get through the hole. Good blocking here, but then he just puts his shoulder down, keeps his feet chopping, and into the end zone. Just great execution across the board for Wheaton's offense.
Yeah, great blocking up front. And again, when you get those guys blocked up, you're going to give a guy with the talent of TJ places to run. That's a big deal. You can see the backside guy on the replay comes unblocked, and TJ's just got too much speed for that guy to make the play. We saw that guy make the play in the first series of the game coming off the backside unblocked. He timed it up a little bit better. So with the hard count between Luke and his hard count, which slows that front down a little bit, and blocking up the right guys, you're going to get these positive plays.
It's drives like that one that's going to slow Carthage down too. You know, the offense can't get anything going. Wheaton's able to just drive down the field, put the ball in the end zone on a short field, and you start to lose motivation, right? You start to lose the ability to like continue going when you're just can't get anything going. You can't stop anybody.
So it'll be Bose to kick this off one more time with the wind at his back. And we'll send this one high, and they're calling for the fair catch almost before he gets to the football. But, Doug, you talked about needing to overcome adversity and overcome what should have been a turnover in a short field. They do so by getting off the field immediately and a quick touchdown drive. That's as much as you can ask for from a Wheaton response.
Yeah, and again, Carthage is a little bit limited on special teams. Their kicker's out, so they have somebody who's not an experienced kicker. They've experienced good field position, a couple punts. That was one there, but they executed on that drive the way they should. and now they're up on top despite not playing great, making a few mistakes. Now they just got to keep focused on how well they're playing.
Leading 10-0 here, 29 seconds left first quarter as Dury starts this drive in the backfield. And he will look to pass. Pressure in his face immediately, and is broken up. A nice play by Robbie Schwartz to get a hand in there and break that up, intended for Javon Stricker. But you can tell there's just that ball comes out almost end over end. You can just tell there's not a whole lot of confidence with Dury when he's looking to turn that thing loose to the far side.
Well, and if Carthage is throwing the ball this amount into the wind when this quarter flips, I would anticipate them trying to throw even some deeper routes when they get the wind a little more favorable for them.
This is a Carthage team that averages just shy of 130 yards rushing a game, and they have thrown the running game to the wind here in the first quarter and almost gone exclusively to the air. 2nd and 10 for Jalen Dennis, who play fakes, looking to the right side, and now he's going to run, but not before he's wrapped up and brought down by Dallas McCray. Shot out of a cannon off that block.
You just can't say enough about the disruption and then just the mobility of these two guys on the interior line for Wheaton. I mean, he's stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Nobody can get the guy moving backwards. And then as soon as he sees the quarterback break, like you said, he's just shot out of a cannon, makes the play. And I mean, you just can't stop the guy.
Looked like they had a little twist going in what's called a little tom game, where the other defensive tackle comes and picks the player blocking Dallas, and he loops around him, and he looped right into the quarterback, and then his acceleration was just exceptional, and you're not going to get out of that grasp once he gets a hold on you.
Well, with the quarter break, we'll check in with our sideline reporter, Cassidy Thornburg. Cassidy, obviously a good finish to that quarter there, but Wheaton had the benefit of the wind at their back. What's the conditions down on the field level, as it obviously feels quite a bit windier up here? We apologize for some difficulties there with Cassie. We'll check back in with her down on the sideline. But big third down to start this for Carthage, especially with the wind at their back. As, Doug, you look at the first half stats.
Yeah, the first half, Wheaton ran 18 plays for 101 yards. T.J. Williams with 5 carries and 23 net yards. Stone Watson, 2 for 17. Jeremiah Tucker, just the 1 for 11. Luke Anthony, 5 of 8 for 57 yards. He was sacked once. On the other side, Carthage ran 13 plays for a total of just 41 yards.
So 3rd and 13 for Carthage starting the second quarter. We'll check in again with Cassidy after this field exchange. Next time we have a change of possession. They'll need the 35-yard line or better. Pressure showing from Ryan Schwartz. And Dennis hit as he throws it. It's picked off by Caden Sigler. Sigler to the 30, 25-20. Blockers ahead, 10, 5, and he is into the end zone. Touchdown, Thunder. Caden Sigler with a pick 6.
Just an unbelievably well-called play. Robbie Schwartz, just perfect blitz right to the quarterback. Caden Sigler picks it off, blockers in front of him, and takes it to the house. I mean, that is the demoralizing thing we talked about right there. I mean, there's just nothing doing. They have no desire to run the football. They're throwing now into the wind. Like you said, Doug, they're just going to keep doing that. They don't have to blitz. I mean, they did that, got the pick 6, but they don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, the pressure was key there as you disrupted the quarterback. He threw it earlier than he wanted to, and then it looks like he got his hand on it, and on his arm, and tipped it a little bit, and the ball was underthrown, trying to get it out wide.
The quarterback got smoked on that play, too.
Yeah, that ball came out loose. So now with the change of possession, we'll check in again down on the sideline with Cassidy Thornburg. Cassidy, obviously, a little bit different dynamic now as we talk a play later, but what's going on down on the Thunder sideline?
Yeah, as you can imagine, the energy is up on the sidelines. And just as well, big day for college football. As the Thunder look to go 9-0, it'll be a toss-up. Will it be LSU or Bama? We'll see.
So Wheaton will have their first kickoff into the wind. We'll check in with Cassidy throughout the day here. And we'll see what Carthage chooses to go with here as they kick into the wind and have a better opportunity maybe for field position without the fair catch here.
Certainly moved up their operation a little bit. You can see the return guys are up on the 10 versus on the goal line when the wind was at their backs. Griffin Bowe still with a strong leg. Should be able to get it there, and With the hang time, we have a great coverage unit. We'll see if they can pin him.
And he's going to power this thing through the wind and through the return. That's one we haven't seen from the Bows repertoire this year. He just blasts it right underneath the wind and through the end zone for another touchback.
Going back to that first quarter stats for Carthage on the running game, Jalen Dennis carrying the ball 3 times for a net -3. Dana Fontenot had 3 carries for a net -3 as well. So on the rushing side, -6 yards. 6 carries for -6 yards.
So 17-0 lead for the Thunder as Carthage comes back out. Delayed handoff to Fontenot, has a hole. Going to explode out across the 30 and finally driven down around the 35. It'll be close to a first down as Corey Kennedy makes the tackle, and they will indeed move the chains.
And just as I say, -6 yards, they gain 10 to put him back in the positive category.
Well, and you can just tell by the way he ran the ball in that he's a gifted runner. I mean, once he saw the hole, he shoots out of it like a cannon and just made a great move, made one guy miss, and runs with power as well.
This is Stricker on the jet sweep being chased down by O'Connell. Breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, and he's going to be across the 40. And Doug, you talked in the pregame about Wheaton's ability to clean up the little things, and right now you're seeing the missed tackles be a big thing as Carthage having a little bit of success laterally with the run game.
Yeah, the first run was a gap control thing. Whoever was in that backside gap just didn't close down as either a secondary player or the defensive end, and there you had 2 missed tackles at or near the line of scrimmage.
They will hand it off again, and he's going to be wrapped up for a gain of a yard or so. And it'll be 3rd and short, the short 3rd down for Carthage. Quick look around the conference. North Central up 14-0 quickly on Illinois Wesleyan over in Naperville. Milliken and Wash U tied at 7 after the first quarter. Augie 13-0 over Carroll to start the second quarter, and Elmhurst 6-3 over North Park. 3rd and 3 from the 43. They will give on the misdirection, and O'Connell's going to grab him and stop him shy of the yard to gain, but it's going to depend on the mark.
Not a great spot.
They're a yard off on either sideline.
The referee on the Carthage sideline gave a very favorable spot. The one on the Wheaton sideline, not quite as good, and they're going to call it 4th down.
And Carthage is going to keep the offense on the field here. Well, for a little while. Here comes the big package. This is going to be nothing to lose here for Carthage. You don't have the playoffs on the line. You're chasing 17 already.
Yeah, no reason to not go for it here. I would anticipate them just trying to pick up the yard.
Looking like they're going to run power right as they've got 2 big bodies on the right side of Jalen Dennis. They're going to hand off to Fontenot running to the near side, and he's going to have the first down by a yard.
Well, it's interesting play selection, here as we talked about, with the wind at their back now. They've come out and run 5 straight running plays to start the second quarter.
Big bodies come off the field, and they will bring Dury into the backfield as the quarterback. Corey Kennedy coming off the field a little shaken up there after that play. 1st and 10 at their own 47. Twins right, split left for Dury on 1st and 10. And they will hand off again to Fontenot. These delayed exchanges really letting Carthage have some room on the running game as they get the ball out to midfield with a 3-yard run.
Well, it's one of their strategies. They run a lot of the RPO, which is run-pass option, which for the linemen, they just block the running play. They don't know if the quarterback is going to pull it or not. And what Carthage does, it's a little bit unique, is the quarterback doesn't put it into the exchange, into the stomach of the running back. He actually holds it, runs with the running back, and then reads it on the run as he goes. So it's a little bit different than most teams.
2nd and 7 for Dury. And again, this time it's a play fake off of Fontenot. Pressure coming from behind Schindeldecker, and he's going to throw it away into the Wheaton bench. Schindeldecker and also Caden Sigler chasing. And that'll bring up 3rd and 7.
Good job by those 2 guys to not pick up a roughing call. That's a type of play where you're just so hard to slow yourself down and stop, and did a good job of pulling off and not hitting that quarterback after he threw the ball.
So 3rd and 7 here for the Thunder. We'll see what CJ Nightingale dials up. Got the nickel into the game as just the 2 linebackers. And they do bring pressure to give to Fontenot on the sweep, and there's just nowhere to go. He will just plunge ahead across midfield to the 49, gains a yard, but still 6 shy of what they need for a first down, and that'll bring on the punt unit.
I would maybe keep your defense on here with the way they're punting the ball. It would not surprise me that 7, who's been their punter, is going off the field. They've got somebody else back there.
I mean, assume they turn the ball over on downs here and don't get it if they go for it. It's going to be Wheaton's like 3rd best starting spot of the day.
Hard to see, but it looks like Pat Murphy, the wide receiver, who is back to punt. Wobbly snap, gets back there. Well, that's their best punt of the day by a long shot, except it's going to roll into the end zone. Or will it? Was Carthage able to get there? They were.
Wow.
What a play by the coverage unit. That ball really slowed down, and an outstanding play by the Carthage coverage team to stop that shy of the goal line, and Wheaton will start from their own 1. Terrific punt by Pat Murphy.
Didn't look great, but got the job done as well as you can.
And this will be the worst field position of the season for the Thunder, starting inside their own 1. TJ Williams, the lone back, and you would expect Carthage is going to dial up whatever their best pressure is to start this drive and try to get the safety. Crowding the line of scrimmage, showing blitz. Anthony with a quick check, and they will stretch TJ Williams to the left side, and he's able to get out of the end zone and get across the 1. Give him a gain of a yard, maybe to the 2.
And this has been tough because, again, they've had some assignment errors down here in the running game against this front, and you just can't have that here. You cannot give up a negative play at this point in the field, obviously. So super important that you're mentally picking up all the right guys here.
They do give him the 2-yard line, 2nd and 9, as Jack Miller, the tight end, motions to the right side. Carthage will bring pressure again. TJ running ahead, able to get out of the end zone, but I don't know if he got back to the line of scrimmage. Carthage is bringing full pressure straight ahead every chance they get, and that'll bring Stone Watson on as the 3rd down back. It'll be 3rd and a long 9. Actually, they're back to right where they started inside the 1. So 3rd and 10. And given the win situation, this is a huge play for the Carthage defense. Anthony is under center with Stone Watson in the backfield. They will give to Watson, who breaks free across the 5-10, has a first down, and he's brought down just shy of the 15. They just wash out the right side of the Carthage line, and Stone Watson explodes for 14 much-needed yards.
Big play. They were bringing a corner blitz, and the corner just didn't crash down hard enough, and Stone was able to just leap through his arms and pick up the first down. Big play there.
Big block by Clay Wagner there on the right side, just washing out the Carthage defensive line. And now room to breathe for the Wheaton offense. As Anthony again goes under center and again gives to Stone Watson. That time the blitzer gets there. It's Montoya who shuts that down for a 2-yard gain. And we'll see Sam Singleton into the backfield now for Wheaton. Singleton's been a little banged up as well on the coaching staff. Excited to get the sophomore back into the mix in the backfield. Singleton, the lone back, as Wheaton going with this pro set for a majority of their play so far today. They will give to Singleton, takes his time, and then will plug ahead up to the 19. Be 3rd and about 6 upcoming here for the Thunder. It may be 5.
Singleton's the ball carrier.
I'll tell you what, it's good to see Stone getting playing time and getting reps and looking like the player that he was when he was younger. He had some injury riddled a couple of seasons, and it's good to see him running with power and with speed and making cuts and a part of this offense. I mean, he's a huge weapon when you think about playoff time.
3rd and 5, 5-man rush. They dump off to Stone Watson out of the flat, stutter step, and he breaks free again, and he's pushed out of bounds just shy of the 40-yard line. Just clearing out the left side and let Stone Watson go to work.
Pretty easy, just leaking him into the flat. It's pretty simple. And the way Carthage is playing, they've either got to have a backer on the back side of that or a safety coming from up high to cover him, and that's just too much space for an athlete like Stone. You get it to him early off the blitz, and he can make somebody miss, which he did there to pick up the first.
So now we'll see Stone and TJ in the backfield. Split left and right as now Watson motions to the right side. Play fake off of Williams, going up top to Carson Lean. And incomplete despite very early contact by Bobby Baker.
Definitely early, and we've seen that a couple of times. The refs are not calling. They're really not calling it either way. But he did bump him early. There's no question about it. And you're not going to get that call. That ball was overthrown. If you put that a little bit out in front of him, he's in position to be able to make that play. So it's a tough throw into the wind down the field like that.
2nd and 10 from the 39-yard line after the incompletion. Baker giving up some size at only 5'7" on the corner. 5-man rush for Carthage. It's picked up, delivered out into the flat for TJ Williams. Stutters and slips before he can get going, and it'll be 3rd and 10 with no gain.
Another big 3rd down. Wheaton has converted the first 2 on this drive, and now they're going to bring Tucker in at quarterback for this one.
I don't know if they're sure.
Or not.
Yeah, I think they've got the wrong personnel group that went out. As Luke Anthony quickly back onto the field. So they'll have 3 wides on the tight end, Miller to the right side. Split left is Torini against press coverage, single high safety. And now the corners drop off at the line of scrimmage. 4-man rush. Clean pocket for Luke Anthony. Delivers the comeback route perfectly to Torini, who's got the first down.
Short. He's going to be short by a yard.
Just short.
You got to stem that. Your route on those has got to. You got to stem that past the sticks and then break back so that you know you're coming back to get the ball. You have to stem that. If you need 11 yards, you got to run that at about 14 and then break it back to 12.
Well, his left foot landed at the 49-yard line when he came down. They marked the ball at the 48-yard line, and they're going to go for it. Heavy package behind Jake Hibben as Carthage will bring pressure. They give to Stone Watson on the misdirection. A lot of room. Watson down the sideline and a first down run. A great play dialed up by Jesse Scott there.
That was just a great play call. I mean, when you see the flow, it looks like kitchen sink right, and then they just hand it off to Stone, who goes backside for a big gainer.
Well, they've seen on a number of these plays, you saw it the first series, last couple series, they're blitzing the outside guys, and they're coming flat to chase the runner. And so they knew that was happening, and they took advantage of Montoya coming off that backside edge. He was too flat. He was unblocked, but Stone just stepped around him, and then it's wide open after he gets past him.
They're staying with this package straight ahead. TJ Williams puts his head down and gets a dirty 5 yards there. They bring in Michael Gale as a tight end in the backfield with Hibben. So continuing to add new wrinkles to this little center as the fullback package that they use. As now we'll see Jeremiah Tucker check into the backfield as the quarterback.
I mean, it's incredible to see the way Jake Hibben moves in the backfield. I mean, he just gets himself downhill, and he doesn't look like he's the starting center and an All-American quality player.
And once again, they empty the backfield for Jeremiah Tucker. Sam Singleton in the slot left, 2nd and 4. They ran draw out of this look. They're going to run it again. Tucker looking for room to go, dancing in the backfield, and he's going to be held onto and dropped by John Ambrosio for maybe a yard. It'll be 3rd and 3 for the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a design draw. It sure looks like it, but if it's an RPO, I would suggest that Jeremiah's got to figure out a way to become a threat as a thrower, because teams looking at this see him back there running the ball majority of the time, and he's a quite capable passer.
Well, I wonder if they just continue to put things on tape so that comes into play later as well. 3rd and 3, and we've got motion and a timeout pre-snap taken by the Thunder. First timeout by either squad as we look at some important games around the country. Starting in the CCIW, North Central 17-0 over Illinois Wesleyan at the end of the first quarter. Milliken takes a 14-7 lead down in St. Louis against WashU. Augustana leading Carroll 19-0 in Rock Island. And North Park has taken a 10-6 lead over Elmhurst down in Chicago. Some non-conference games of note we're keeping an eye on. John Carroll leads Heidelberg 10-3 at halftime. Baldwin Wallace at halftime trailing Ohio Northern 28-14. And in what could be the conference championship game in the Iowa Conference, the American Rivers Conference, Central leading Wartburg 21-7.
Got to keep a strong eye on that WashU-Milliken game. Wheaton really needs WashU to win out, because WashU right now is ranked in the North Regional rankings, and that gives Wheaton what's called a result against a regionally ranked opponent, which is part of the primary criteria. So if WashU were to lose a game, then they would be bumped out of those rankings, and it would affect Wheaton's status in terms of how they're going to be ranked in the upper echelon come playoff time.
One other game we're keeping an eye on, Mary Hart and Baylor 20-0 over Texas Lutheran. Play action on 3rd down into the flat, completed to Miller. He's got a catch.
Incomplete.
And incomplete. Worth noting as well, you talk about the results against regionally ranked opponents. Wheaton would also benefit them for Wartburg to come back in that game because of the chance you would get Monmouth into the regional rankings in the West, which would give Wheaton 3 regionally ranked results and continue to boost their resume quite a bit.
And I'm not surprised here in 4-down territory with the wind in your face. I mean, you're sort of in no man's land here.
It would be a 50-yard field goal. There's no way it's getting there. Pressure comes on 4th down. Into the flat, completed to TJ. Nowhere to go. Wrapped up by Kevin O'Boyle. And it's essentially the play they just ran to Stone Watson, even though the throw turns TJ around, and he can't get started before O'Boyle wraps him up and drives him back.
Yeah, and that time they just brought a different combination of linebackers. They didn't bring the outside guy like they did against when Stone Watson ran for it on the 4th and 1. They left the outside guy, and he's just standing there covering the flat receiver, nowhere to go.
So the Wheaton's drive that starts inside their own 1 at least flips the field, but Carthage will take over from their own 32 after the turnover on downs. Back to pass is Dury against 4. Schindeldecker pressure coming. It's completed underneath to Murphy, who's immediately tackled by Wyatt Lee for maybe a yard or 2.
And something to note, Corey Kennedy is back on the field after being shaken up a little bit. I mean, that's the thing you worry about is your players like Corey Kennedy, a hugely impactful player on the defensive side of the ball. You don't want to see him go down, but getting checked on the sideline back in on the next series, it's just huge to see him out there.
And haven't talked much about it, but Ryan Schwartz returning in the middle of this defense for the Thunder after missing last week. Wheaton also missing Fielding Davis, so they were down their first 2 Mike linebackers, and last week played with Wyatt Lee and moved into the middle. So good to have Ryan Schwartz back. Looking left is Jalen Dennis, going to escape the pocket, rolling to the near side, and flushed out of bounds, shy of the 40. That'll should be a sack for Schindeldecker, or excuse me, it does come downfield, so maybe a yard or 2 there, but it will be 3rd and looks like 4 from the 38-yard line. Just not much there in the passing game, as Davis has been running for his life a lot of today. Bunch set to the right as Stricker motions down to the line. They will drag him across the formation. Dennis looking, chased by Holiday, and he's going to throw it away. Nope, it's intended for Stricker. And Gamicha with great coverage underneath knocks it away. Looked like he was throwing it into the bench at first, but Stricker was still there.
Well, they were looking for Stricker the whole way. They were trying to flood the zone up to the field and bring Stricker from the short side, the Wheaton sideline, all the way across underneath with hopes that he gets some running room. But the Thunder weren't in man. They were in a zone coverage, and all the linebackers and safeties were at the right level, able to break on the ball. There was nowhere to put it, and the pressure eventually got to him.
So 3 and out for Carthage, and Pat Murphy into the game to punt. Nate Magnuson is deep, and they almost got to that one. Magnuson calls for the fair catch at the 23-yard line. That's Ben Locos, the linebacker, who's gotten close twice.
He calls for the fair catch. Looked like they had a block on, so when you have the block on, you don't have as many blockers once you catch the ball. So fair catch gives the Thunder a better field position than they just had. They get the ball outside the 20 with 3:06 to go in the half. See if they can go down and get some more points before halftime, leading 17-0.
3:06 left here in the half. 2 timeouts. 76 yards away from the end zone. TJ Williams on first down. Had a hole at first, spun around, and is going to be brought down at the 27. That's a gain of 3. But the running game just has not gotten on track the way Wheaton is used to having it.
Yeah, you continue to see the linebackers, the blitzing linebackers on this 3-3 look cause disruption to the Wheaton running game. They're coming off blockers. In that instance, they fought off the lead block and altered the path of the running back a little bit and didn't allow him to get into the running lane.
2nd and 7 with Watson and Williams in the backfield. Anthony drops underneath to Stone Watson, who drops the football. That's essentially an extended handoff with a lead blocker in Torini, and Watson, in a hurry to get upfield, didn't control the football. Not a great ball delivered from Anthony, but still good enough for Watson to catch it. It'll be 3rd and 7 from the 27, and Wheaton in danger of a quick 3 and out. As Anthony surveys the defense on 3rd and 7. Carthage will bring 4. Anthony hit as he throws it, and that's completed. Torini, who this time ran it deep enough, and a good low ball to protect him away from the defense. And that'll be a big first down for the Thunder offense.
Just good understanding of knowing exactly what you need to get the first down, and as you mentioned, Doug, going just a little beyond that. Nicely thrown ball down at his, down near his hip, and he just catches, falls down, gets the first down, and they get to start again.
Clock rolling, 2:10 left as Carthage blitzes again. Anthony sits in the pocket, wide open McJunkin, and McJunkin dropped it. Throw was a little bit behind him, but as McJunkin tried to put the brakes on, he just couldn't haul it in. Anthony could not step into that throw either. I think if he does, he gives him a shot to run for a while, but that ball delivered short of McJunkin, who just couldn't bring it in right in the W in the middle of the field. And that would have been a big one.
Again, you're seeing some version of pressure on every snap from Carthage. You see the three-man front. They're staying with this because the pressure of combination of the three and the three guys standing behind them has been giving the Thunder a lot of problems.
This time they bring it from the backside. It's handed off to Singleton, who is brought down shy of the 40. And I wouldn't be surprised if Wheaton runs some clock here on this third down.
Clay Wagner shaking up on that play a little bit. Right tackle for the Thunder.
See him kind of shifting things around with that right knee guard.
Another big third down to see if the Thunder can convert.
They'll need the 46. McJunkin Z-motion back. They bring pressure right up the middle. Great pickup by Watson. And again, it's Torini into Carthage territory. Stone Watson flipped the blitzer end over end on the pickup and gave Luke Anthony the time he needed to make a big completion to Torini.
Great block, and that put the hurt on the linebacker there. He's kind of limping back, not very happy about it. Great execution. That's what you're going to have when they give the blitz. Those corners are playing off man, so those little skinny post or slant routes are going to be open if you can protect the quarterback.
1st and 10 at the 44, and they will stretch Singleton to the left side, and he's going to be stepping out of the first tackle or that's O'Boyle, and he was able to get down to the 40 and the 39. Clock running inside of a minute now.
Did not look, as you see the replay, did not look like a run that was going to result in a 6-yard gain, but good job by Singleton to keep his feet moving and not get dragged down from behind and tripped up. But he's an impressive running back, but good job by Wheaton's offensive line to keep moving downfield.
2nd and 5, 40 seconds left here in the quarter. 2 timeouts into the wind. They bring the house. Anthony rolls to the right side, delivering to Torini. Did he get the foot down? He did. Drags the toe at the 31. That's a first down, and it stops the clock with 31 seconds left here in the first half.
It's a great throw and a catch there.
Nice job by Miller to slow down the rush. Looked like he was going to be open as the dump off, but instead Torini able to drag that toe. And the clock stops here with 31 seconds left.
Still 2 timeouts, so the whole playbook should still be open to you here.
5 wides for Luke Anthony, empty backfield. Safeties drop 7 yards off, 3-man rush. Anthony all day. Still a clean pocket, looking to run. And now he will, 30-25, angling to the sideline, and he will get, looks like 7 yards there.
Just all day to throw, but great coverage by Carthage, not letting anyone get open. But
that's a win
just
for
all
Carthage,
day.
too.
Yeah, it is.
That's 7 yards in 9 seconds. That's a win on both accounts there for the Redmen. From here, it'd be a 41-yard attempt. Again, Wheaton working into the wind. So probably stretching the distance of what Bose could do into the wind as they fake the pitch to TJ Williams. Anthony's well protected. He's going to take off and run as he sees man coverage, and he slides down at the 17-yard line. And that's the best slide we've seen from Anthony, who has struggled with that this year.
Just look at this fake. I mean, look how everyone is sold on Carthage's defense. The other side of the field is wide open for Anthony to make that play.
Coach Swider quickly uses one of the remaining timeouts, which will leave him 1 timeout left. 14 seconds to go with the ball at the 17-yard line. So you got a couple of shots. Again, you can throw it in the middle of the field. You do have a timeout. You also have the benefit of the clock stopping with a first down to be able to spike it. and stop it. But you really have time for probably 2, maybe 3 plays, depending on how quick those plays are. And so you have to decide, do you want to pick up something, to get you inside the 10 so you can take a couple shots at the end zone, or do you want to take your shot at the end zone here and potentially dump it off, and then you probably end up with a field goal situation if you throw something short and have to burn your final timeout.
Central has added a touchdown to lead Wartburg 28-7 in the second quarter, so that's the 2 seed in the West in the first regional rankings. And essentially, I believe the winner of that one has the inside track for the AQ out of the ARC. But an impressive showing so far from the Dutch. 1st and 10 from the 18-yard line. So we'll see what Wheaton looks to do here with only 14 seconds left. And Anthony's got to be aware of the clock, too. Can't sit there if they drop in coverage and take the 9 seconds like he did before. They will instead bring pressure. It is picked up. Anthony, clean pocket, delivering, tipped, and incomplete, trying to squeeze it into Carson Lean. And now it's got to be tough, a decision to be made here with 8 seconds left. You've either got to call a quick one to the end zone or a quick hitter.
2nd and 10 for the Thunder with 8 seconds remaining.
Coach Swider down there conferring with Jesse Scott on what the play call is going to be. So you can definitely throw something quick or quick into the end zone and call a timeout. You're going to have 1 or 2 seconds left. But the ball's going to have to get out of his hands pretty quickly.
And Luke Anthony's got to be aware if it's a clean pocket, he can't just sit back there for a while. He's going to have to make a play early. They bring pressure again, well protected on an out route and just too far. Intended.
That makes the decision for them. They'll definitely want to try to kick the field goal.
Intended for Terrell Brown. And so this will be an attempt of 35 yards for Griffin Bowes, who has already hit once today. This one coming from just inside the left hash. Wind in his face.
Should be the last play of the half either way.
Out of the hold of Bickle, good snap hold, put down plenty of distance, and that is good for Griffin Bowes. So Bowes hits 2 field goals. The last one ends the half and gives Wheaton a 20-0 halftime advantage.
Nice drive to go down and get points to end the half there. Really nice job, well executed, managed the clock well, used their timeouts. Nice little momentum carrying into the halftime.
So we will step aside here at the halftime break. Wheaton leading 20-0 over the Carthage Redmen. We'll come back on the backside of the break, give you a look at the first half stats, and look ahead to the second half. You're watching Wheaton Thunder football from WTSN.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to honor 3 Wheaton teams that have won CCIW championships in recent weeks. At this time, Wheaton Athletics Director Julie Davis and Wheaton College President Phil Lakey will recognize each program for their accomplishments and present the captains with their 2019 CCIW championship trophy. The first team that we honor today is the Wheaton women's tennis team. Will the team captains please come forward? 3 weeks ago, the Thunder women's tennis program won the program's League Best 22nd CCIW championship. The Thunder won the CCIW title event by just 1 point over defending champion Augustana. We secured the title with 4 singles titles and 2 doubles championships. Head coach Gene Nelson was honored as the CCIW Coach of the Year, and junior Nicole Freeman was named the
CCIW Championship MVP with conference titles at number 4 singles and number 2 doubles. Let's give a round of applause for the Thunder women's tennis team. Our next conference champion is the Thunder women's cross country team. Would the team captains please come forward at this time? This fall, the Thunder women's cross country team won the program's league best 14th CCIW championship, winning the title for the 4th consecutive season. Seniors Erin Embretson and Erica Johnson finished 3rd and 4th respectively, as a total of 5 Wheaton runners placed in the top 20 to score 47 points at the conference meet, ahead of 2nd place North Central. Head coach David Walford and the Thunder coaching staff was named the CCIW's Coaching Staff of the Year. Let's give a round of applause for the Wheaton women's cross country team. The final conference champion we would like to honor is the 2019 CCIW champion Thunder women's soccer team. Wheaton posted an 8-0 record in CCIW play this fall to win sole possession of the conference championship. The title is Wheaton's league best 21st CCIW championship. Sarah Bakke led the CCIW in assists this season during conference play, while teammates Jensen Ellis, Carney Blake, and Isabel Oliver were top 5 in the league in goals scored. Oliver, Sarah Tomich, and Nicole Wright were all named a CCIW Player of the Week this season. Let's give a round of applause for the Thunder women's soccer team. And let's give all our champions another big round of applause. Thank you. With the conclusion of the regular season schedule for the Thunder today, we would like to salute the seniors on the Wheaton football team and their families. Without the contributions and dedications of these people, the Wheaton program would not be as successful as it is. Over the past 4 seasons, Wheaton has regularly been ranked in Division III, and the Thunder football program has posted a record of 35-6 for an 85% winning percentage. Wheaton advanced to the quarterfinal round of the NCAA playoffs in 2016 and is in position to win the program's first CCIW championship since 2015 and return to the postseason for the first time since 2016. In the middle of the track are Wheaton College President Philip Reichen, and representing Wheaton football is Nancy Swider, the wife of Thunder head coach Mike Swider. They will be presenting the families of this year's seniors with a gift from the college, recognizing their efforts and the efforts of their sons over the past 4 years. Our first parent is Lisa Beamer, David Beamer's mother. The parents of Griffin Bowes, Ernie and Noreen Long. Nate Gers' parents, Phil and Patty Gers. Tayshawn Gibbs' father, Shante Gibbs. The parents of Daniel Herber, Paul and Rosie Herber. Jake Hibben's parents, John and Mary Lou Hibben. Corey Kennedy's parents, Keith and Leslie Kennedy. The parents of Carson Lean, Brennan and Christy Lean. Dallas McCrae's parents, Bob and Kim McCrae. Grant Miller's parents, Rod and Becky Miller. The parents of Philip Nichols, Lynn and Dawn Nichols. Spencer Peterson's parents, Jeff and Lisa Peterson. The parents of Luke Rogers, Daniel and Michelle Rogers. The parents of Jeff Ross, Rick and Jen Ross. The parents of Spencer Rowland, Tom Rowland and Paige Rubas. Robbie Schwartz's parents, Tony and Lisa Schwartz. The parents of Caden Sigler, Irv and Aaron Sigler. Drew Smith's parents, Brian and Laura Smith. Will Smith's parents, Michael and Wanda Schmieding. The parents of Adam Tarini, Dan and Kim Tarini. Clay Wagner's parents, Chris and Marge Wagner. Stone Watson's father, Taj Watson. The families of Jorge Ibarra, Patrick O'Connell, and Joey Paulina were unable to attend today. Thank you, and let's give your parents another big round of applause.
Be inspired as you grow in your ministry and collaborate with other leaders like you.
Be challenged, stretch your thinking, and deepen your understanding of your mission.
Be equipped to raise your level of leadership as you raise up faithful followers of Christ.
Be inspired to serve a world filled with justice and suffering.
Be challenged with a rigorous academic program that trains you to analyze psychological theory and research from a faith-based worldview and apply it to serve the needs of individuals and families in need of healing.
Be equipped to integrate your Christian faith and practice with the best of contemporary scholarship and professional standards in the disciplines of clinical psychology, counseling, and marriage and family therapy.
One word I'd use to describe my Wheaton experience is purposeful. And I say purposeful because through people and experiences here, the Lord has been teaching me to reorient my desires and aspirations for work in His kingdom.
Flourishing. I chose the word flourishing because of the specific leadership and mentorship opportunities I've experienced at Wheaton and how they've allowed me not only to grow here, but given me the confidence to navigate life after Wheaton.
Winning. I chose the word winning because I feel like all my friends and professors have encouraged me to have a winning mindset.
Full. I chose the word full because my Wheaton College experience has been full of mentorship and friendship here, and I've been left with intergenerational friendship that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life.
Transformative. The reason why I chose the word transformative is because of all the ways I've been influenced by my professors, my peers, and my friends at my time at Wheaton.
Rooted. The reason I chose the word rooted is because I am leaving Wheaton grounded in both my faith and calling.
Unexpected. The reason I chose this word is because I expected to be challenged by Wheaton's academics, but I wasn't expecting how I would be challenged and grown through Wheaton's athletics, student life, and student engagement.
Deep. I chose the word deep because of the deep relationships I've been able to build with friends and all the people I've been able to meet at Wheaton.
Holistic. I chose that word because Wheaton has taken my education and my vision for my life and it's expanded it and shaped it physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in every way.
Journey. The reason why I chose Journey is because of the many highs and lows that I've experienced here at Wheaton. These highs and lows are a taste of what life after Wheaton is going to be like, and this is why I love Wheaton.
Welcome back inside McCulley Stadium. I'm Rusty Lindsay, joined with Doug Rothschild and Dan Studebaker, where the Wheaton Thunder lead Carthage 20-0 here at halftime after Griffin Bowes drilled a long field goal to end the first half. Doug, you've got the first half stats. What do we have?
So the Thunder, with 44 plays and 226 yards in the first half. Luke Anthony, 12 of 21, 122 yards. Was sacked once, along with 20. 23 rushes for 104 yards. Stone Watson had 5 carries for 44. T.J. Williams, 9 for 32. Jeremiah Tucker, 2 for 12. On the receiving side, Tarini was the leading receiver, 6 for 62. Stone Watson, 2 for 36. TJ Williams had 2 catches for just 1 yard. And Matthew Tucker had the 1 for 15. On the other side of the ball, Carthage, 25 plays for just 73 yards. So discrepancy of 44 plays for Wheaton, 25 for Carthage, 25 for just 73 yards. On the running game, 14 carries for 24 yards. Dana Fontenot, 7 carries for just 14 yards. Javon Stricker had 1 for 5. Peyton Lingle had 2 carries for 4 yards. Billy Drury was 3 for 6 yards. And Jalen Dennis 3 for 5 with an interception for a total of 43 yards. On the defensive side, the Thunder were led by Ryan Schwartz with 4 tackles. Schindeldecker had 3. Gamicia had 3. And Spencer Rowland had 2. Big stat that I would note, penalties. Carthage penalized 4 times for 20 yards. Wheaton penalized 0 times in the first half. Not sure that's happened this season.
And that's saying something for Wheaton, who is 4th worst in the country in penalties.
That's huge. I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, we haven't seen a whole lot of penalties fly in the game.
They did have a holding, I think, that got declined.
They did, but none to have none in a game like this. We've talked about this for years now. Wheaton's a highly penalized team. Something that's really hard to coach is keeping emotion out of the game and not getting those ticky-tack post-play fouls that they've had. So they're not giving away yards. There have been games so far this year where Wheaton has been penalized more yards than the defense gave up. That's really tough to do. But it's just playing assignment football and it's just playing clean.
Another big stat that really indicates the level of dominance Wheaton's had in this game, 3rd down conversions. Carthage 0 for 7 and Wheaton 6 out of 10.
Wheaton, one of the best in the country in 3rd down defense. They're second in actually, they're 12th in the country. They lead the CCIW. They're the only team in the country to not give up a 4th down conversion yet this year. Actually, I believe Carthage converted on 4th down. They're right around midfield. So Wheaton's the last team to allow a 4th down conversion. This will be Magnuson to return the opening kickoff as he goes up across the 20. Gotta see him. 35-40, cuts back. He's going to make it to midfield. And a flag comes in at the very end of the play. It's going to be a late hold. So Wheaton's going to back that up off that spot. But that's a really nice return from Nate Magnuson. Wheaton had a return last week down to the Carroll 6-yard line that was called back by holding. A holding that cost them 61 yards of field position. This one won't be near as costly, but it will back them up off of midfield.
Well, and you saw in the replay there, it's one of those things where Wheaton player did his job, but when you're laying on a player as the run goes by you sort of have to make it look like you're not just laying there.
Well, the hold took place right around where the tackle was made, so they will start from their own 40. Wheaton leads the nation in kick return average. They are averaging 30 yards, 0.3 per return. And Carthage showing blitz here on 1st and 10. They will bring 5. They hand off to Stone Watson. Stone with a little outside in run. That's TJ, 32, not 31, who spins forward at the end of that play and gets to the 44-yard line.
Clearly a hard count on that play, the first of the second half for Wheaton, and I expect to see more of that to slow down Carthage coming downhill as they have. Blitzes are very effective when you can get a running start.
Well, it does 2 things. It slows it down. It also identifies who is coming where. One of the things this offensive line got confused in the first half is this 3-3 stack, is which linebackers were coming in which caps.
2nd and 5 here from the 45. Play action off of TJ. Luke Anthony with all day to throw. It's complete to Caleb Brink, who lowers his shoulder and splits a pair of tacklers and powers down to the 36-yard line. So Caleb Brink, a little bit of an underused weapon. Really their 4th wide receiver, but a big body and tough to bring down in space.
Just no pressure on Luke Anthony. When you're able to stand in the pocket like he has, survey the field, get through your reads, and make a bullet pass like that, they're going to be fine like that. You keep your quarterback upright, things are going to work.
1st down, they're going to throw just a poor throw, trying to run the swing screen to Matthew Tucker. Incomplete. Luke Anthony pretty upset with himself there.
Well, you're still going into the breeze, what little breeze there is, and that breeze, when you're going into it, when the nose of that football goes down, it tends to push it to the ground. So you have to be mindful throwing the ball into the wind as a quarterback, that you got to keep that nose up a little bit to drive through that wind. Otherwise, those things will dive right to the ground.
2nd and 10 from the Carthage 36-yard line against 5-man rush. Anthony delivers incomplete. Looking for Jack Miller, and that'll be 3rd and 10. Elsewhere around the CCAW, nearing halftime, North Central leads Illinois Wesleyan 31-14. Milliken and WashU tied at 14 at halftime. Halftime score: Augustana 20-0 over Carroll, and North Park 17-14 over Elmhurst. 3rd and 10, and again, we saw this be 4-down territory for the Thunder earlier. As Anthony checks to the sidelines, they will blitz 4 on a stunt, and Anthony steps forward through the pressure, makes another guy miss, and he's going to take off and run. 30, sliding down at the 20. We'll see where the knee goes down, 29. I thought it had to be at least a 28 from where he went down, but an impressive, evasive maneuver from Luke Anthony.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing that from Luke with the quality of that slide, but the ball is spotted where he begins his slide, and it was near the 30-yard line. He's been sliding pretty late as the to begin the year, but you're seeing a better job of Luke, and that's just getting snaps and getting time to do it.
So it'll be 4th and 3, and Wheaton's going to line up and go for it here. Showing double tights to hard count, and they're going to get Carthage. That's going to be...
That's not good.
Wow, Wheaton must have flinched.
They're going to call a procedure penalty on the Thunder, which I don't see. I mean, most of the Carthage defensive line jumped on that play.
And that changes things because now Wheaton's punt unit will come onto the field.
And the first penalty against the Thunder ends the drive.
And they got Carson Lean on that.
Well, there's never any excuse for a receiver to have a procedure penalty by jumping early because they're supposed to not listen to anything. They're supposed to watch the ball, and they do not move until that ball is snapped.
So Bickle to punt into the wind. Second punt of the day. First one went out of bounds around the 14-yard line. This one, nose up, going to drop at the 5 and be down at the 1. 3 bodies waiting for it. That's just impressive to watch John Bickle go to work. And after the Wheaton had to start a drive in the first half inside their 1, Carthage will now have to do the same. For John Bickle, that is the 8th punt of the year that has been down inside the 5-yard line.
And I said it already on the broadcast, but John Bickle is a weapon. I mean, that's the type of play right there against very good teams. When you can pin people back, their playbook collapses, right? You just can't call the same plays on the 1-yard line that you can on the 20.
And it'll be Jalen Dennis, that's Dury, who will play fake, and he's hit as he thrown it up in the air and picked off
for a touchdown.
Pat O'Connell. The easiest pick 6 of his life for Pat O'Connell, who just looked up and it fell into his hands.
That is amazing. Pressure to the quarterback, throw goes way up in the air, and Pat O'Connell just looks up in the air and it falls right into his hands, falls to the ground for a touchdown. I mean, just that's the best way for a defensive player, defensive lineman especially, to score, is just that the ball just falls into his hands to the ground.
Manna from heaven for Pat O'Connell. So Bickle's punt turns into 7 points for the Thunder as Bowes bangs home the extra point, and the Wheaton defense adds its 2nd touchdown of the game.
Wow. 2 pick sixes. That one, if you could call pass interference on the right tackle of Carthage, you probably could have.
There's no way to prepare for that. I mean, the tackle has no idea where the ball is. It was a good hit on the quarterback that knocked that loose, but a little surprised Carthage didn't try to run, given their success running a little bit that hesitation handoff game. A little surprised they didn't at least try to put something into the middle there.
And it would have been interesting had Pat not caught that ball if they would have ruled it a fumble or an incomplete pass.
Yeah, it was pretty in between whether or not that was the open hand coming forward.
I'm just a little, play calling is really tough for Carthage. They're having a ton of problems getting things going with the quarterback. The old saying is you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. They just can't figure it out. But Dana Fontenot is a gifted runner. I mean, he's only averaging 3.9 yards a carry, but he's a big guy. He can move, and you get that downhill running game going that Carthage has been known for. They're just not even trying it.
This will be the first actual return of the day for Carthage. It's caught at the 13, and they will spin up to the 20. Just excellent coverage, and the hang time from Bowes is exceptional. So they'll start from the 21, a return of 7 yards, and a defense that has put up more points than the offense today will take the field.
That's just, totally demoralizing for Carthage's offense right there. I mean, you get stuffed back starting on the 1-yard line, and then you have to come back out immediately and do it again after a defensive touchdown, the 2nd of the day. They just have nothing doing.
So this will be Dennis out of the shotgun from their own 21. Play fake off of Fontenot, delivers a strike over the middle, and it's dropped before he is decked. Intended for the freshman Cole Verselli.
You can just see the way Kennedy coming downhill here lays a hit, and he gets up, and he's got a little crazy in him. The guy just has his eyes get big. He goes for that shot, and then little savage.
Safeties love that kill shot there when they got an opportunity. He does a nice job keeping the head up and using the shoulder into the chest, not getting a penalty. Going into the flat and way too high, intended for Eddie L. Dallas McCray into the backfield quickly on the rush, and just like that, it's 3rd and 10 for the Redmen.
Again, probably has some legitimate beef as Pat O'Connell is fixing his jersey again. He's getting pulled at and held on quite a few plays, and it's one of the only ways you can slow the big guy down.
So we'll see what CJ dials up here on 3rd and 10 and how Carthage counters. They do so with Dury in the backfield. Press coverage from the corners. 2 high safeties, they bring pressure. They will hand it off on the draw to Fontenot, and a nice tackle made in the middle of the field by Pat O'Connell because there was room, and he does a nice job getting enough of Fontenot to drag him down.
Really good play by Pat O'Connell. You look up here, he's like in a 9 technique, and he's not going at all. He's almost in a spy.
He dropped off and had to loop around the blitzers and makes the tackle. And a nice job by the defense with a quick 3 and out. Complementary football, that's what you like to see. Defense helping the offense. So it'll be Magnuson who sets his heels just in front of his own 40. And it'll be Murphy who's done the punting with the wind. Man, Locos has come very close. And that's going to go out of bounds at midfield. He stepped a little bit to his right to receive that snap. I think that saved him from a blocked punt there by Ben Locos.
Sure did. And again, you've got an inexperienced punter who's done a nice job stepping in. Jalen Dennis had started punting and hadn't done a good job in the first couple, and they go with the backup receiver, and he's done a nice job, but that operation is not something you're used to in terms of stepping away from where the pressure's coming, all those things, and almost got that one blocked.
So we'll see if Jesse Scott tries to get aggressive here to start this drive. They will play fake. Luke Anthony drops it off for the tight end Miller. Miller has a first down, 40, 35, and powers through a tackle down to the 30.
Man.
We haven't seen the tight end get involved very often this year, but Jack Miller packed a punch there.
Well, that's been a tough position for Wheaton to try to fulfill after the last couple of years. We've had a little bit of an embarrassment of riches at that position, but the 2 guys are coming around a little bit, showing some production in the offense. They do a great job of blocking, but you don't see a whole lot of catches out of the tight end position, but you're starting to see it happen more.
This is a handoff to Singleton, makes a cut, makes another cut inside the 20. He's got a first down. And there you see the shiftiness of Sam Singleton. Talking to Jesse this week, he was very excited to get him back because he's an explosive runner. And you saw it there, some nice cuts to get himself some extra yards.
Good blocking there. Guys stand on their block. You see Hibben downfield 8 yards on the linebacker and the safety actually having good contact to free him up to get those extra yards.
1st and 10 down to the 18. Singleton and Watson in the backfield. Give us to Stone. Cuts inside, cuts outside, steps out of a tackle, and he will be brought down at the 15. Give him the 16 where the knee went down.
And I think if Stone doesn't make his first cut, he's got a hole right there if he just keeps going, but he cuts out. If he just keeps going upfield and doesn't make that cut, he's got significantly more yardage.
Hibben had sealed that seam up the middle. Ends up being a gain of 2 for Stone Watson. In the backfield again with Singleton. Lean and Caleb Brink split to the right, Torini left. As Anthony tries to help his offensive line recognize the blitzers, play clock at 10. Give is to Singleton, cuts back against the run. 10, down to the 5, still working, and he's going to be brought down just shy of the end zone at the 1 yard line.
Very nice, really nice run by Sam there. Coming in behind that as he and Clay Wagner celebrate a little bit. Nice job by the lineman. Jake Hibben again just creating a ton of space in there by keeping their feet moving. One thing on an offensive line, you watch them after initial contact. Do they keep driving their feet to move people additional yards? That's a key of a great offensive lineman.
I hope they reward Singleton here with his running on this play.
They're going to pull it out, looking for Lean, who goes down and makes the catch. Nice catch by Carson Lean. That ball was tipped and came out wobbly, and he goes low to make the catch. Touchdown Thunder, who have started this second half on a dead sprint, pulling away from Carthage.
Nice job there. Just nice drive, good execution all the way across the board. Offensive line really starting to take over. They're starting to figure out this defensive front a little bit, get on the right guys, and their physicality is starting to have its effect.
Second touchdown catch of the year for the fifth-year senior out of Bloomington, Indiana, Carson Lean.
Another guy that you like seeing be productive in this offense is he's had issues on the injury front and hasn't been able to get on the field as much as he'd like to. So seeing him get into the end zone, be productive, it's just great for the senior.
Lean a steadying presence to that wide receiver core, and a lot of teams go searching for depth on a team like this where you've got dynamic receivers in Phil Nichols and Adam Torini, and Carson Lean just a steady, consistent presence. And when he's called upon, he's a guy that can get you a couple big plays, and just buying his time, and did a nice job there in converting with a touchdown catch.
Well, Carthage is looking to get something going now on offense, and they have the wind at their back. Again, the wind is not that strong, but what wind there is at their back, and they just need to get something going here.
And Bose booms this one back inside the 5, and the fair catch called for.
That was a late fair catch. They've been calling them much more quickly than that, and good to make that call because Wheaton was coming and his feet were on the 9-yard line.
Central continues to just absolutely blast Wartburg. 42-14 the score in Waverly, Iowa at halftime. Wartburg, the number 2 seed in the West in the first regional rankings. And
that's a really bad look for Wartburg.
It is.
Tough.
And it also puts a strong resume into the Pool C category, like Doug mentioned during our halftime break, that would compete against the likes of North Central for a Pool C bid. 1st and 10 from their own 25 for Carthage, as Dury will hand off on first down to Fontenot. Kennedy forces him back inside, but he powers ahead, carrying tacklers for a hard 3, maybe 4 yards to the 29-yard line.
Fontenot's a nice little runner. He's got good feet and good acceleration in his pad level. What I like is he bends his knees, he gets his pad level down and drives through contact.
Other Pool C games of note: John Carroll tied at 10 with Heidelberg. Baldwin Wallace has closed the gap to Trail Ohio Northern 28-21. 2nd and 6 from the 29-yard line. Play off of Fontenot. Dury moving to his right. That is completed to Murphy, who bobbles it but brings it down, as Dury squeezes that ball into the window and moves the chains for the Redmen.
Yeah, I'm with you, Doug. I just, you see Dana Fontenot, 5'9", 195 pounds. I mean, he's a big kid, low pad level, makes good moves, and they just have not gone to him very much today. I mean, they're using him in desperate moments instead of using him to get their offense going.
Brock Rudder finds Andrew Kaminsky with 5 seconds left in the half, 42-14, the halftime lead for North Central. Dury throwing again on first down. It's complete into Wheaton territory. Roland couldn't close in time on the receiver, and that'll be another first down for the Redmen, completed to Javon Stricker.
Just a square in by the wideout, and he just runs down, pushes the DB back, and then breaks to the middle, and the linebackers are sucked up on the play action, so the big window in there allows them to just pull that on the RPO and drill it in there, where Carthage has done a nice job executing that play.
Back-to-back first downs for the Redmen for the first time today. And they're going to force Robbie Schwartz out of the game for some sort of equipment.
Knee pads.
So Caleb Egbert going to come into the game. Takes over on the near side. Give is to Fontenot, stretching to the near side. Kennedy comes down, but Fontenot lowers his shoulder, and we've got a flag on the backside of the play, likely against Carthage.
I mean, we're seeing it a lot.
It's against the senior center, Matt Ferrero. That's an illegal chop block.
And you'd always want to see that, because that's one of the most dangerous plays in football, in the interior line. On a play running wide, when a lineman coming behind you clips your legs out, and sometimes it's not intentional. The guy can trip and fall, or he just gets out of position, but it's an important call to make, because those are places you can get hurt.
Especially on a play like that that's coming down the line like that. Most of the time the chop block happens when there's a blown assignment between two offensive linemen, right? One goes high, one goes low, but coming down the field like that, you're right, that's when you put the lower body in jeopardy.
1st and 22, back at their own 45. Play fake, Dury rolling to his left. And now we'll pass, and that is incomplete. Couldn't make the catch anyhow, but it did look like he stepped out.
Robbie Schwartz is back in with what looks like the exact same uniform he had when he went out, so I don't know what changed. But whatever it was acceptable to the line judge, and he's back in the game.
The only thing it looks like is the pants now cover the kneecaps. That's the only difference we can see from here.
I almost wonder if he had them cut down too small. You know, sometimes they'll pare them down.
2nd and 22 from the 45. That pass intended for Jalen Dennis by Dury. 2nd and 22. Defensive end standing up, 4-man rush. Dury will pull and throw, and he is decked by Schindeldecker as he delivers incomplete, intended for Stricker.
I will make the observation that if the pants covering the kneecaps are the criterion, there are at least 6 Wheaton defenders that should be out of this game right now.
Yep. Corey Kennedy's got his up around his thighs.
Yeah, and Sigler is wearing what looks like Under Armour tights.
3rd and 22 for the Redmen. Wheaton will bring pressure. Dury doesn't see it, and it is incomplete. Gamicha coming from the backside, and then a nice recognition as well by McCray running right with Fontenot down the line, and that'll bring on the punt unit for Carthage.
Riveting conversation from the Wheaton broadcast booth discussing knee pads and length of pants. And
it's the kind of content that you don't get anywhere else. We'll tell you that.
All right, let's see if we can get either some pressure on this punter or a good run back.
Ben Locos has come close 3 times, all 3 times with Murphy doing the punting. And he's coming off the near side. Nice snap. They put a body on Locos. Yeah, they look like they added an extra layer of protection. That Magnuson makes the first guy miss, and then he will be gang tackled at the 25-yard line.
Well, that was the first time in this game so far that Wheaton hasn't gone after the punt. They were absolutely had a block on.
And Carthage has a man down. It's a wide receiver, Kyle Kursak, who we were told was going to be doing the kickoff duties today for Carthage. Already down their main kicker, David Collins, with a concussion, and now Kursak.
He's in a lot of pain.
Unable to get up, holding his right leg. So we look around the conference. We mentioned North Central scoring right before halftime, 45-14, the lead over Illinois Wesleyan, as they have outgained the Titans 340-168 there in the first half. Milliken and WashU tied at 14. Augustana at 27-0 over Carroll. And North Park continues to lead Elmhurst down at Foster and Kedzie 17-14. Heidelberg has kicked a field goal to take a 3-point lead over John Carroll, 13-10. And Baldwin Wallace into the fourth quarter, trailing Ohio Northern. Probably about 10 minutes left or so, 28-21. So a lot of these games seem kind of obscure, but they would certainly shake up the North region quite a bit. Baldwin Wallace ranked 5th in the region. John Carroll ranked 6th in the region. If WashU can hold on, it boosts WashU up the region quite a bit. But
well, that's the most important result of what you've been mentioning, is that WashU is able to pull off the win against Milliken. And, you know, Milliken's a pesky team. They have some talent, and they've played well at times this season. So we need WashU. If you're a Wheaton fan, you want WashU to win that game.
Baldwin Wallace and John Carroll are supposed to play next week in what's essentially a Pool C elimination game. They might not even be in the picture, both of them, when they get to it. 34-0 as Wheaton takes over. Luke Anthony completed quickly to Torini. Torini to the near side. He can fly. 40, 45, 50. Down the sideline. 40, 35, 30. And he's finally going to be pulled down from behind inside the 25-yard line. The sprint speed of Adam Torini.
When he gets going, man, he just flies. It just looks like he glides when he finally hits full speed. He makes a guy miss right there, and then you just see him start gliding, and he just makes one guy miss with a great little stutter step. And
for Torini, 7 catches, 112 yards. That's his 3rd 100-yard game of the season and 2nd in a row. Been great to see him stay healthy for a season this year. Hard count by Anthony under center. Stone Watson the lone back on 1st and 24. Misdirection give to Stone Watson. Cuts to the near side, and he's going to be brought down. A nice tackle on the edge by the Carthage cornerback, Jeremiah Baker, before Watson could turn up the sideline towards the end zone.
Yeah, I think it was it Torini's freshman year when his first catch was a fade in the end zone and broke his shoulder or broke his collarbone or something like that. I mean, always been the guy with a ton of talent, but like you said, he's been very healthy this year and has put up big numbers.
A guy, though, a senior that you would expect to be back with this team next year. 2nd and 7 from the 21. Give this to Singleton. Singleton inside the 20, and he's going to spiral ahead down to the 18-yard line, setting up 3rd and short as the Thunder offensive line doing a much better job here in the second half of asserting their will.
Making a play for the Carthage defense.
Tucker back into the game as the quarterback here as they go Wildcat. And Doug, you mentioned you'd look for Tucker to throw a little bit. This would be one where you could put something on tape with him throwing up big here in the third quarter.
Well, you got effectively 3 running backs in the backfield. It's a lot of options.
Hard count by Tucker. Now he will rush up under center. And Tucker will turn and pitch out to Singleton. 20, 15, up the sideline into the 10. Did he stay in bounds? He did. Touchdown, Thunder.
Wow. It looked like he gave himself up a little bit, but then just finished in the end zone for a TD.
Wow.
Impressive footwork by Sam Singleton to stay in bounds. We'll see it again here on the replay. Looked like they thought he was giving up on the play too, and it's not a very good effort to get him out by Steve Shipp. High snap put down by Bickle on the extra point. It is good. 41-0 on a very strong third quarter for the Thunder.
And this is where up 41-0 with just 5:22 left in the third quarter. You'd like to start seeing some of your biggest contributors coming out of the game and getting some more people in the game just to protect the health of your team.
Yeah, the other thing is you've got senior day. You can get some of those seniors who are more depth chart guys into the game.
When you talk about needing to win in a convincing fashion, this is plenty convincing.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think there's any concern about the fashion and what you win at this point in this game. I agree. You should want to start getting some of those key guys out of the game to get them rested and just not get them dinged up here going into the end of the game.
Wind has certainly died down as we've gone along here, as Bose will not need the holder this time for the kickoff. And this one high and end over end, and there's the almost immediate fair catch call.
And just an update on the sideline. Kyle Kursak is testing out his right leg, but he is doing sprints up and down the sideline. So it's good to see that happen for him. Good to see him healthy, or relatively.
Well, he's healthy enough because that's something. If it was a major injury, those kind of cuts that he's really testing would not be able to sustain. So it'll be Dury here to run the start of this drive for the Redmen. He's handled most of the drives here in the second half. Complete to Jalen Dennis as they go down the seam, and he's quickly tackled by Robbie Schwartz. Biggest play of the day for the Redmen. It goes for 24 yards.
After the 48-yard line, Robbie Schwartz.
Dury and Dennis, even though they both operate as quarterbacks, will stay on the field, the other operating as a receiver. This is a play fake off of Fontenot, rolling to his left, looking for Stricker. He is buried as he delivers it by Braden Anthony.
Almost picked off by Pete Ittersagen, one of his many for Wheaton in his career.
Good coverage there, bracketing Stricker on the near side. And it is interesting, their play selection with Dury moves him away from his strong throwing side quite a bit for a guy who struggles with completion percentage to begin with. Now they roll him to the strong side, rolling to the right, and he'll take off and tuck it. And he is tackled at the 48-yard line, and a late flag by the referee. There's two officials closer than that play.
They're going to call that as a unnecessary roughness or...
On the replay, it does look like he's already out of bounds when Gamicha goes low around the ankles on him, but you'd like to see that called by one of the two officials that are right there.
There's one standing right in front of it.
That flag comes from 25 yards away. I don't think there's disputing the penalty because he was out of bounds and giving himself up before Gamicha went for the tackle. 1st and 10, now down to the Wheaton 32. Give to Fontenot, stutter step, and then develops a little bit of a hole, and he will carry tacklers down to the 29-yard line. Strong running from the sophomore out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, Dana Fontenot. Works it into a gain of 4.
Big opportunity for some of these backup defensive linemen that are in here for the Thunder, Grant Miller, Braden Anthony, to try to get a stop down here.
This will be a play off of Fontenot again. Anthony giving chase, and that is complete. Nice catch made coming back to the football by Javon Stricker for a first down. It is worth noting Fielding Davis out there at Mike linebacker for the Thunder. We were told he was not going to be in action today, so good to see him getting back to health and back onto the field in the middle of the Thunder defense. First and 10 at the 21-yard line. 3 wide receivers. Split left is Dennis. Dury will give to Fontenot. Nice step outside. Steps inside at the 20.
Really nice move.
And he works his way free to the 15-yard line. Didn't look like there was much there, but he turns it into a 5-yard run. This cut to make the first guy miss. An impressive cut from Fontenot. Right around Fielding Davis.
And the challenge is there. You have River Schindeldecker rushing the quarterback. He opens up a huge lane when the running back dips underneath him and breaks out, which allowed that big run.
2nd and 4 from the 15. Best drive of the day for Carthage. Down into the Wheaton red zone. Dury going to throw, looking for the end zone, and that is incomplete. And pass interference going to be called against Rowland, I believe, because he didn't get his head around. A lot of hand fighting there, and he just never saw the football.
I don't know. It looks
clean.
Compared to the ones, I mean, if they're going to call them the same way on both sides the whole game, I don't think that's a penalty, just like some of the other ones they let go. But
pass interference, number 2 on the defense.
Well, and to your point, Rusty, if it was because he didn't get his head around him, he just looked the wrong way. He looked over his right shoulder instead of his left.
But on some of these back shoulder throws, they actually teach those guys to not look that way. They actually teach them to look the way that he did look. So I don't think he necessarily did anything wrong as much as they just called the hand fighting that play and they didn't other times.
Ball down to the 2-yard line. 3:10 left here, third quarter. Wheat leading 41-0. Carthage trying to get on the board. Dury will throw on the slant, and it's broken up. It was caught momentarily by Dennis, but then cleaned up by Caleb Grodelution, who knocked the ball out of his hands. Incomplete.
Broken up by Grodelution. 2nd and goal from the 2 for Carthage.
So they will split all the way to the near side. That's Pat Murphy. Inside of him, Dennis.
If I'm Carthage, I give the ball to Fontenot 3 times in a row here.
Dury's going to keep it, trying to find space. Nowhere to go. That long mesh point. And Dury swallowed up. So Wheaton's defense takes a lot of pride in the shutouts. Trying to keep them out of the end zone here. 3rd and 3.
Well, you get the compressed field, and that brings that coverage up, and it's basically bump man, and now you got to get off. Your press receivers are going to, they got to get off tougher coverage, so makes it a little tougher. See if they're going to bring pressure here. I would think so.
Dury will give to Fontenot, and Fontenot's going to be swallowed up at the line of scrimmage. Got to be 4-down territory for Carthage, especially since you're down kickers.
I don't know, man.
I think the question
teams are pretty. I think that them being down a kicker is the most important things here, because teams are notorious for not wanting to get shut out in situations like this. So you just kick it through, but
they'll go for it.
Not having a kicking game, you go for it.
I do like the idea of not blitzing here, because that's how you're going to let Fontenot break a seam or something, and you make the quarterback read it, make that quarterback beat you. So I like the defense on the last call. I do the same thing.
4th and goal for the Redmen. Now they bring pressure. Looking to the right side. Coming back is knocked up into the air. Incomplete. Broken up by Fielding Davis. And the Thunder defense holds on the goal line.
I love seeing that. Absolutely love it. Just backs against the wall, bend, don't break, and you keep points off the board. And we all know how much Coach Swider wants that scoring defense title for the year, if there is such a thing. But I mean, he's
great job there. Fielding Davis,
ton of pride
backup Mike Grodelution. The backup safety who's in for Corey Kennedy, Braden Anthony at defensive line, Grant Miller defensive line, all those guys, the number 2s getting in there and doing a great job to get the stop down there on the goal line.
So Wheaton starts from their own 3, and it is Tucker in the game, and he will keep off the fake, has a seam, and he is tripped up and dropped at the 6-yard line. But just those couple of yards there will give Wheaton a little more breathing room, but Jeremiah Tucker going to work with the ones a little bit here as Luke Anthony's day is done. Carson Lean and Matthew Tucker, wide receivers to the near side. Terrell Brown split out to the high side of the field on 2nd and 6. Tucker in the backfield with Singleton.
We'll chuck one deep here to Brown.
Carthage will bring pressure, and as again Tucker on the keeper, breaks out of a tackle 10, up across the 15, outside, gets to the 20-yard line, and now the Wheaton offense can open up its entire playbook on a nice run by Jeremiah Tucker.
I mean, you like this guy in Terrell Brown. He's a speedster out there, and they're playing him bump and run, and they got their starting corners who are 2 pretty good corners, both the Baker guys. Like to see what he's got, see if he can get off press coverage and get down the field.
Up to the 21, inside a minute left, third quarter. Wheaton just holding Carthage out of the end zone after they had 1st and goal from the 2. Tucker again, a big seam. 30, going to be brought down across the 35 to the 38-yard line.
I like Jeremiah Tucker's game a lot. I mean, it's not like he's a running back playing quarterback. The kid can throw. He's got great vision. The ball comes out of his hand really tight, really quick. I mean, he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised to see him competing for a starting job. Even though it is Luke Anthony's,
Coach
next
Swider,
year. I mean, he's a gifted player.
Coach Swider likens him to Andrew Bowers, who, is like trying to catch a cobra in a phone booth.
1st and 10 from the 37 as he shows run and now drops back to pass all day to throw, staying behind the line of scrimmage, and now delivers it to his brother, Matthew Tucker, who comes back for his 2nd catch of the game, and that's a 1st down to the 48-yard line. As we'll see Will Smith checking in for the first time today.
Will Smith's affectionate nickname is Thomas the Tank Engine.
The Fresh Prince, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Fresh Prince, Tank Engine. End of the third quarter with the Thunder leading 41-0 and in control here at McCauley Stadium in the second to last game of the season. Next week they'll finish the regular season at Elmhurst, and then a week from tomorrow is when the playoff selections will come out. And the Thunder, with a win today, capture the Pool A, clinch it for the automatic bid to the playoffs. So they're guaranteed a playoff bid with a win today. With next week, if they're able to win at Elmhurst, they have the potential of having a 1 seed or a top seed in the playoffs, which would include at least 2 and likely even 3 home games as the playoffs start. So you got to win 5 games to win the entire national championship. There's 32 teams that make it nationally. They're broken up into brackets. Those brackets are picked generally geographically, and the Thunder very much in the mix for a top seed at this point.
And Smith will be the lone back as Tucker goes under center to start the fourth quarter. Wheaton now with the wind at its back from their own 49-yard line. Pressure comes, they deliver and knock down, quickly read by O'Boyle, the linebacker, who was coming in on the blitz, and Tucker's got to get rid of it faster.
So a couple quick stat updates through the third quarter of this game. Total offense for Carthage, 46 plays for 157. For Wheaton, 62 for 427 yards. Leading the way rushing for Carthage is Dana Fontenot with 13 carries for 35 yards. For Wheaton, Sam Singleton, 7 carries for 59 yards and a score. Billy Dury is 7 of 18 for 65 yards. Jalen Dennis is 3 of 6 for 43 yards with an interception each. Luke Anthony, 16 of 27 for 211 yards. No interceptions and a touchdown.
Pressure again as Jeremiah Tucker's going to play fake and go deep. He's got a man wide open and he overthrew him.
Well, he stopped running.
That was Terrell Brown.
Defensive back fell down, and Terrell Brown didn't think he was going to get the ball when the guy fell down. He just stopped running. It might have still overthrown him, but he stopped running off the break.
It's a bomb.
Terrell Brown's got a lot of speed. Incomplete. Brings up 3rd and 10.
Finishing up the stats, Javon Stricker leads the way with 5 grabs for 58 yards for Carthage. Adam Torini with 7 grabs for 112 yards for Wheaton.
Tucker coming out of the formation late. We know some miscommunication on where they should be lined up. Play clock's down to 5. Finally gets him into position, and they snap it with 1. Tucker rolling left. Nice block by Hibben on the backside, and Tucker steps out of bounds just short of the line of scrimmage. Even with a huge block on the guy who was chasing him backside. That's Ambrosio who was giving chase.
Man.
And Hiven just peels off, and so the Carthage defense holds right around midfield, and that'll bring John Bickle on for the third time today. Milliken and WashU continue to be tied at 21 down in St. Louis. Again, that's a big one for Wheaton because Wheaton would love to see WashU stay in the regional rankings. Especially with some uncertainty above them, could really strengthen their hold there. Spiraling kick by Bickle, going to force Stricker back, and he's going to catch it over his shoulder at the 5, breaks out of the tackle of Egbert, breaks another tackle at the 10, and is tripped up at the 13, but a late flag comes down.
And I get a second one on the sideline over there. Nope, just the one.
So that should back it up half the distance. Wheaton has played, other than the last drive, Wheaton's played a pretty clean football game today. Only the 2 penalties.
Yeah, well, four on the stat sheet for 43 yards. But really the most impressive thing to me is the yardage. I mean, obviously only having 4 penalties. I mean, we've been in double digits several times for more than 100 yards, and you just can't give that yardage away like that.
Well, Mike Swider talked in the pregame about only having 6 penalties last week, and that number was deceiving because of the 60-yard penalty on the kickoff. So it's 1st and 10 from their own 8 as they start the drive with Dury in the backfield. Slow play fake. He's going to go up the sideline, and that is incomplete. Egbert gets a hand in there at the last minute to break it up, intended for Stricker.
Yeah, really good job to knock that out. It appeared to have been a completion, and he just punched it out.
On the defense for the Thunder, 2nd and 10 for Carthage.
Second and 10 from their 8. I mean, it'll be big for Carthage just to keep Wheaton away from a short field on the other end of this drive if they do go 3 and out. This is Fontenot off the play fake, and now they're going up the seam. It's complete to Jalen Dennis, working away from Gamicha.
Face mask. No, wow. Looks like we got away with one there.
Either that or a horse collar, but he definitely had him up around the neck. I didn't think he got his face mask, but he just might have brought him down around the neck. That's just a tough matchup when you got Dennis running against Gamicha as a linebacker with no safety in the middle. Yeah, he did catch a little bit of face mask.
Works the ball out to the 35-yard line. So room to work now for Carthage as Fontenot carries into the middle of the line. Flag comes down, and this play will come back as Schindeldecker drags him down after a 6-yard gain. But, again, we'll have a hold called against Carthage as they wrapped up Jake Holliday, who was in the hole. Holliday saying that's probably the least I've been held today.
When you look at Wheaton's defensive line across the front right now, you've got Jake Holliday at 6'3", 279, and standing next to him, Grant Miller at 6'4", 295. There's some meat in the middle there.
North Park has pulled out to a 31-14 lead over Elmhurst down in Chicago. Elmhurst being held to just over 200 yards of total offense in that game. 1st and 20 after the penalty for the Redmen, and a flag comes down for delay of game. Make it 1st and 25.
That wasn't a delay of game. They were going to get false start on Carthage on the line anyway.
Yeah, they're definitely going the wrong direction here, the Redmen are.
49-14 the lead for Central College over Wartburg as they continue to run it up and make a pretty impressive statement that they will claim the Pool A for the ARC.
Boy.
Huge hit on the quarterback, and Dennis drops the football. Schindeldecker, who has been coming free a lot today, put a licking on Dury there.
That was pretty close.
Well, they gave you 2 steps after the release. That wasn't quite 2. 2nd and 25.
1.9.
We lost a game at Milliken a couple years ago and a lot less than that.
Much less than that.
Yes.
Lost a game in a postseason bid.
And a pick on the play.
2nd and 25 now from the 20. Carthage has gone almost exclusively with Billy Dury at quarterback this half, who steps away from Grant Miller, who comes back and drops him all the way back at the 14-yard line.
I mean, you can't talk enough about I mean, he's an impressive athlete. I mean, this is a guy that has lost.
He's double teamed on that play.
Oh, he was straight through it, just textbook double team defeat. But I mean, this is a guy that had lost 40 pounds. His first wrestling match was in the regional rankings, or was in the regional, and he ends up going and becoming an All-American, or wrestling in the national tournament.
Yeah, he's a guy who's worked really hard to get himself into the rotation. 3rd and 31 for the Redmen. Dury again going to throw. It's knocked into the air by Gers, and it will not fall into the hands of a waiting lineman this time, as Holiday couldn't bring it down.
Holiday was hoping to get his manna from heaven.
But after an impressive start to the drive, the drive ends up in reverse, and they will punt. Murphy waiting for the snap from his own end zone.
The only downside about all this is the clock stops on all these incomplete passes. So if you're Mike Swider, you want to get these guys off the field as soon as possible and get this game over with.
Murphy gets this one away, a low knuckleball that bounces at the 38 and will roll its way to the 45-yard line. That's as good as they've done working into the win today. Baldwin Wallace is about to get the ball back, trailing by 7 at Ohio Northern. John Carroll has taken a 17-13 lead over Heidelberg. Mary Hardin Baylor 34-3 over Texas Lutheran. We mentioned games around the conference. North Central 52-14 over Illinois Wesleyan over in Bloomington. Wash U has scored to take a touchdown lead over Milliken, 28-21 to start the fourth quarter.
That North Central game's in North Central, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
It is. That is in Bloomington, yes. Augustana. It's correction. Yeah, Naperville, yes. Augustana 34-0 over Carroll, and North Park 31-14 over Elmhurst. As Tucker under center, moves the other Tucker down, and they will hand off to the Fresh Prince on first down, who piles ahead inside the 40, a 6-yard run for Will Smith.
I mean, you see Will Smith coming into the game at the end of the third quarter and into the fourth now. I mean, the talent that Wheaton has at running back, just the depth that they have. TJ Williams obviously is who he is. We talk about him a lot. Then you go to Stone Watson, Sam Singleton, Will Smith. I mean, Will Smith's a guy that ran for 120 yards against Wash U earlier this season. He's a heck of a player.
And you've got two pretty talented freshmen back there, too, with Allen and Carter. 2nd and 4 from the 39. High snap. Tucker's going to have to make a play, and he throws this into the flat. That's complete. Speaking of one of those freshmen, that's Kyle Carter, who makes a heck of a play to get a first down.
Really great job of being pinned on the boundary and then jumping back inside around the first tackler and then just kind of putting his head down and pushing the pile. Right there, he throws off the first guy and comes in behind his lineman there.
Good blocking downfield by, I believe that's Jalen Schaefer there. Sam Odell. 1st and 10 down to the 32. Tucker will give to Smith, finds a hole, 30, 25, 20, foot race to the end zone. He's going to win it. Touchdown, Thunder.
Yep, they gave it to him. Nice run there. Great job by the tank engine, the Fresh Prince. So one of the reasons that that Rusty's bringing up these scores of Baldwin Wallace and all these other teams is because there's going to be a fight for the Pool C, which are the at-large bids to the playoffs. North Central has one loss to us. If they finish with one loss, which it looks likely at this point, winning big against Wesleyan today, one game left for them next week. If they end up with the one loss, they're going to be compared to all the other teams in the country with one loss for one of 5 at-large bids. There's 5 nationally, and you have to be ranked inside of your region. North Central would be the top-ranked team, but the other teams in consideration would be either Baldwin Wallace or John Carroll if they're a one-loss OAC, Ohio Athletic Conference team. They would also be compared based on their criteria. The thing that hurts North Central is their strength of schedule is low because they played Christopher Newport at the beginning of this year, who's traditionally a pretty strong team but is having a bad year. That brings their strength of schedule down. Their strength of schedule will improve a little bit today, having played Wesleyan. But North Central is going to be in a very competitive situation, even though, based on the eye test, they're one of the top 10 teams in the country. They're going to be in a fight to actually make the field, depending on some of these results, so they're important.
Absolutely, and two things you think about too is the fashion in which you win. So they're not going to stop scoring on Illinois Wesleyan to try to put it on them.
And there's no love lost.
And there's no love lost there either. The second thing would be to consider is that the CCIW is one of the strongest conferences in the country, and historically a 9-1 team, if there is a 10-0 team in the conference, gets a Pool C bid. But that was before the Pool C was shrunk by 2 teams.
This one going to fly its way all the way through the end zone. Worth noting, Tommy Gallagher was the one with that extra point there for the Thunder.
Yeah. So one of the points you make, Dan, that's really important is the second place CCIW team worthy of a playoff bid? There's absolutely no question. They're one of the top 10 teams in the country, let alone the top 32. That's not one of the criteria. The criteria are based on a committee of NCAA coaches that are familiar with these teams in each region are going to make the decision, and it's based on strength of schedule, winning percentage, and results against regionally ranked opponents. So North Central's criteria have to match up.
Yep.
Fontenot on the carry on first down, stretching for the sideline, and Egbert will make the tackle out of the 29-yard line.
And as I said, right now, North Central's carrying one of the weaker strength of schedules amongst
under 500.
Yeah, amongst the rest of the Pool C teams. They do have a result against Wheaton, 0-1, and if WashU, it's also very important WashU wins today for North Central because they have a win against them. They would be 1-1 against regionally ranked opponents.
Is this another give to Fontenot? As much as Wheaton needs wants WashU to stay in the regional rankings, North Central needs WashU. Has to. If WashU falls out of the regional rankings, that puts a huge divot in North Central's
I would say
hopes.
North Central would be on the bubble at that point if they're out of the rankings.
Baldwin Wallace with the ball, trailing Ohio Northern by 7 late in that game. John Carroll leading 17-13 over Heidelberg late in that game. Those are 2 teams that are going to get bumps from strength of schedule this week, as trying to throw up into the air and incomplete.
Looks like it might have been tipped there.
Yeah, Nate Gers coming through on Jalen Dennis. 4th and 5, and that's a pretty quick 3-and-out for Carthage.
Gers, one of the many seniors that have contributed, stepped in a couple of times in the starting role for injuries. The first game of the year in Monmouth, I think, against Monmouth, he played quite a bit. And then obviously up at Carroll, he stepped in as well. So been a great contributor, a senior. His parents are here today on Senior Day. A great day for him.
Baldwin Wallace just turned it over on downs with 37 seconds left, so they're going to take a second loss. And that takes another team off the bubble. Boy, a heck of a punt into the wind there.
Same punter?
Yeah.
It's the first time he's gotten the ball in the air today,
yeah,
really.
I think Mitchell's taken the job today for the Redmen. He's been very good. So that is one less team Murphy, excuse me. Yes, that is one less team in consideration, as Baldwin Wallace will take a second loss and likely fall out of the regional rankings at 7-2. But the other thing is that's a regional rank that Mount Union will not get when you start stacking up teams and looking at strength of schedule at the very top of the region. Wheaton for today will have a better strength of schedule than Mount Union. Elmhurst will obviously put a dent in that next week. Dave Beamer into the game at quarterback as he hands it off on the first play.
Who does North Central have next week? Who do they finish with?
Milliken. So Dave Beamer in at quarterback, just a great story there. Obviously here on Senior Day, his mom's here. She was introduced at halftime along with all the other senior parents. Dave Beamer been a great part of the program now for 4 years. Has stepped into the personal protector role on the punt team in place of the injured Spencer Peterson.
He's got Nate Magnuson in the backfield. Throws this one into the flat, and that's completed and dropped, trying to get a catch for senior Jeff Ross. As Ross couldn't hold on, would have been a short gain. Brings up 3rd and 7. Again, you're starting to see the seniors work in here. Joey Paulina there at left tackle.
3rd and 7 coming up for the Thunder.
That's Paul Fay at left guard right now for the Thunder. Looks like Tayshawn Gibbs in the slot to the right for Wheaton here on 3rd and 7. They do bring pressure. Beamer sits in the pocket, and he will deliver, and too high. Intended for Tayshawn Gibbs.
It's good to see a guy like Paul Fay get in there as a freshman and get him some exposure to the CCIW play. I mean, he was a kid that would have been one of the top recruits that Wheaton earned last year, a guy that was getting preferred walk-ons to big schools. And I mean, he's at a freshman at 6'4" and 275 pounds. He's got a lot of work ahead of him for Wheaton.
You're going to factor probably a large part in Wheaton's success next year as Wheaton loses 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. Snap back to Bickle on the punt. Loose spiral and a fair catch going to be called for at the 42-yard line by Stricker.
So 8:18 to go, and the Thunder holding strong with a 48-0 lead. They want to close this game out quickly as the many of the backups are now in across the board on defense.
John Carroll has held off Heidelberg. 17-13 the final there.
That's a good team in Heidelberg. They were, they got shut out by Mount Union but held Mount to 27 points, which is extremely rare.
This is Jalen Dennis, who throws a strike across the middle.
Good
gets
grab.
it to the tight end, Sam Limbaugh, who is brought down at the Wheaton 41. Salisbury rolling over TCNJ 48-14. Salisbury right now the #1 seed in the East. And they'll be a team to keep an eye on because that's probably Wheaton's top competition for what will be the 4th #1 seed.
Be them and Muhlenberg would be the 2.
Muhlenberg cruising to a 44-3 win over Gettysburg today. 1st and 10 from the Wheaton 41. It's Jalen Dennis getting to work here at quarterback. And he will play fake. Going to be chased by Robert Briones and Fielding Davis, and will stretch the ball forward. Don't think he's going to get the stretch, though.
Well, they didn't give him much.
He stretched that out to the 40 or so. And the ball is marked at the 40. So 2nd and 9 here for the Redmen. Dennis again, knocked up in the air and incomplete. So we got Ryan Levanchi at one corner, Egbert at the other. Gerzen at linebacker with Fielding Davis.
Grant Miller planted Jalen Dennis yet again on that play. The defensive line getting consistent pressure, and it just makes it hard to step in there and make that throw when you're getting knocked on your behind every play.
Ezra Nitz, the other linebacker in there for the Thunder. 3rd and 9 from the Wheaton 40. Dennis looking to the right side. Fires incomplete, in and out of the hands of Fielding Davis. A little upset with himself. He didn't bring it in. The one thing Dennis has shown is he can bring the fastball. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of touch, but he's got the laser.
Well, when it's 3rd and 9, the linebacker is not going to honor the play action, and that play they've beat us on, the linebackers are coming up because it's on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 5. They're coming up to tackle the running back and creates that window. On 3rd and 9, the linebacker's not going to honor the play action pass. He's going to be in that passing lane.
4th and 9, Wheaton brings a little pressure. Dennis going to go up the rail, and that is incomplete. Great coverage underneath, intended for Pat Murphy. Nice job by Levanchi running with him. And that'll be a turnover on downs for Carthage. The Wheaton 2s, as that's a lot of the #1 offense still on the field for Carthage, and the Wheaton 2s and 3s gets a stop there.
Love to see me a Levanchi in the Wheaton secondary. It's a legendary name here at Wheaton College for those of us program insiders. Good job by him on that 4th down.
I'd be surprised if there weren't just a whole bunch of handoffs here to try to get this game over with.
Yeah, this will be to Will Smith as Smith breaks out of one tackle and has nowhere to go.
Just has no prayer on a play like that when the snap is bobbled on a handoff in the backfield. It's just Carthage is in the backfield too quickly and tackles him for a big loss.
Jake Lampy, the freshman, makes the tackle for a 4-yard loss.
Carthage continues to play their first-team defense pretty much across the board. They have a few of their defensive linemen are now backups are in. Tyler Beckwith is in there. Ambrogio, who's been playing most of the day, is in there.
Gibbs, Tucker, Magnuson, a trip set to the left side for Beamer out of an empty pocket. Beamer throws to the near side, and that is caught by Matthew Tucker. That'll get back just around the original line of scrimmage.
Matthew Tucker's a nice player, too. I mean, those guys both can play. He's a sure-handed receiver. He's fast. He runs good routes, and I think we're going to be calling his name a lot here as a as he's only a freshman.
Be 3rd and 10 as that clock continues to roll. McNeil Stout in the game, slotted to the near side, inside of Stanley Robinson, a pair of freshmen. They bring a delayed pressure. They get is completed. Oh, incomplete. In and out of the hands of Robinson, who gets a welcome to the CCIW hit.
It looked like
teed off.
That was awful close to helmet, but
big hit coming there from Matt Herman.
I mean, that easily could have been a flag, but
it looked as if, though, he saw that coming. I mean, he had his arms extended and then kind of braced himself for it. So, all in the protection of self.
Well,
good to see both guys get up on that.
I don't know that the receiver's reaction is precipitating whatever penalty should happen or not, but there was 3 of them watching, none of them called it, so we'll defer to their expertise. Thunder to punt.
And whistles pre-snap, and it looks like a delay of game. It is.
Number 9, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Late in the first half up at Whitewater, the Warhawks leading UW Stout 10-3. As Wheaton climbed up to 4th last week. With the loss to St. John's, Whitewater would be the next team on the ladder for them to climb. So Bickle will try this one again, waiting for the snap from his own 23. And Carthage barreling through the line early, but what a kick by Bickle. Bounces out of bounds around the 10-yard line. I would imagine Mike Swider says that's good enough and just declines the penalty.
Yeah.
Those punt coverage plays are where you end up with somebody taking a silly penalty or an injury that isn't worth it.
Offsides, defense, that penalties decline.
They do indeed decline it. That is now 20 punts on the year inside the 20-yard line for John Bickle. Pinning teams inside the 20 around 65% of the times he kicks. As Carthage, who are going to remain with the number 1s as the offense comes back out on the field. Levanchi and Egbert the corners for Wheaton. Nitz and Grotelushin the safeties. Locos, Davis, Gers the linebackers. As this is a handoff to Fontenot on first down, and he's wrapped up by Braden Anthony and spun around for a gain of a yard. Anthony on the defensive line with Rob Briones, Grant Miller, and Jorge Ibarra. As they get Ibarra into the game here on Senior Day.
Briones in there for Schindeldecker. Briones from Irvine, California. Getting some tick on the end is great.
Dennis going to deliver to the near side, and that is a sprawling catch at the 20-yard line.
Short of the first.
Made by Eddie L.
Gers isn't real happy with himself on that one because he just about got his hand on it.
Only
there.
I think he's mad enough he didn't drop deep enough as well. Quarterback was looking at him the whole time. 3rd and a yard for from the 20 for Carthage. Dennis will hand off to Fontenot, who's going to be swallowed up at the line of scrimmage. They'll get it just across the 20.
Just shy, I think.
Yeah, they're going to be shy of the yard to gain. That's Grant Miller who wrapped him up first. Ibarra wrapped him up second. It'll be 4th and a yard for the Redmen.
Fontenot appears to be going off a little gingerly.
Yes, Carthage is keeping the offense on the field here from their own 20. And with the play clock rolling down, I think they're just going to have to call timeout here. They don't, already inside of 10. Dennis is the quarterback here. Play clock at 3, and they snap it. Jalen Dennis hands it off and nowhere to run. Grant Miller wrapped him up for a loss of 2.
I don't get that.
Peyton Lingle, who hadn't touched the ball all game, gets the carry there.
I mean, presumably you're leaving your number one offense in on the field to try to steal some pride back, right, and try to get down and put some points on this Wheaton defense. But going forward on 4th down from your own 18-yard line is tough.
Yeah, and it puts Mike Swider in a situation he doesn't particularly like because he's never one to run the score up.
And I don't think they will. I mean, I think they'll be. I mean, but
well, they're going to hand the ball off.
You can only coach your own team.
If the guy scores, he's going to score. I wouldn't anticipate them throwing it here, but they're going to run it. I can tell you that. I would.
That's McNeil Stout trying to find his spot there. He slots to the right side as Beamer drops the pass. Look out. Evades one rusher. Beamer throwing. That is complete for a first down at the 5-yard line.
So much for not throwing.
And that's Tayshawn Gibbs. And Gibbs is a guy you love to see get some tick as well. He's a guy who's struggled with injuries since his transfer here from Louisville.
Nice avoidance there and a great throw.
You know, there's oftentimes discussions around, you saw the score last week between North Central and Elmhurst at 82-7, and you look at that and you assume they're running the score up. But at the end of the day, you're not going to coach your guys to lay down.
Right.
You can only coach your players to play hard.
Beamer going to run the option and keep it, and he's into the end zone. What a step from Dave Beamer.
Nice fake. Nice fake and a nice step, and then just straight in.
Great thing for that senior.
I love
for
that.
all he's done for this program to be able to get a touchdown on his last home game, regular season home game. Fantastic for him, and with his mom and family and the watching. Great thing.
It'll be Gallagher to kick the extra point. He's made his first attempt. Snap and hold are good, and Gallagher knocks it through. 55-0 with just under 3 minutes to play.
It's just such a cool thing to think about, you know, for a guy like Dave Beamer. You know, when you're coming out of the locker room and you smack the sign that says "Let's roll," you know, what's going through his mind when he says, "That was my dad that said that." Very cool.
That's been a part of been a part of his life from day one.
Very, very cool.
That's a guy who Mike Swider starts camp every year telling him what that sign means. That's a guy that doesn't need to sit in on that talk. And a great senior day moment there for Dave Beamer.
Rusty, for our listeners who may not know the story, you may just spend 10 seconds explaining it.
Yeah, Dave Beamer, the eldest son of Todd Beamer, the Flight 93 hero from September 11th, a Wheaton grad, Wheaton baseball player. And his brother Drew, a starter for the Wheaton soccer team. So very unique legacy that those two get to live here at Wheaton College, where they can walk in on any given day and see the mural of them and their father outside Camden Yards that sits in a student section or in a student center that's named after their father. That's a pretty unique experience for those two, and a very special moment for Dave Beamer there, getting to get in the end zone on senior day.
Sideline warning and penalty against the Thunder here is going to be assessed, and some irrational exuberance after the Beamer touchdown of his teammates going a little wild, and they're going to get another penalty to boost their penalty stats and get a little mean reversion there.
Yeah, Dave's a well-liked guy in the program, so not surprising to see guys get excited about him getting into the end zone there. Yeah, Dave Beamer, the subject of the CBS College Football Today show several years ago, when the CBS pregame show showed up on campus and featured him his freshman year. That was on the 15th anniversary of 9/11.
Alex Jarvis with the kick return for Carthage.
You just start looking at the schedule for Wheaton, and you look at the scores that are put on the board. I mean, just the number of shutouts and the points kept off the board, but also the offense. I mean, they're just piling up points now too. This offense has really found its rhythm, and they have it going.
They go back to Dury as quarterback here with 2:52 to go, and he will play fake, looking to the left, and throw a short and dropped. Intended for Stricker. Carthage just, I think, trying to find somebody to take that role. Dury today is 8 of 24 for 92 yards. Dennis is 5 of 12 for 68 yards. He's each thrown a pick six. 2nd and 10, and they will throw again. That is complete to Dennis.
Oh, and I'm just thinking to myself that Jalen Dennis appears to me to be a much better wide receiver than he is quarterback. Now, the problem is they don't have anybody really to deliver him the ball, so they need his athleticism in the backfield.
Well, if he could throw it to himself, they'd have something.
3rd and a yard after the nice tackle made right at the sticks. Ball sits at midfield. Wheaton brings pressure. Dury's going to keep it, and he is going to break out of a tackle, have a first down, takes a big hit, sandwiched at the 44-yard line. That was Locos who broke right through the middle and forced Dury to keep it. Seen Guillermo Toro in the middle now for the Thunder at defensive tackle, along with Garrett Borger.
Toro from Homestead, Florida. We're getting geographically diverse here, too, as we get some of the other guys in.
Inside of 2 minutes left, and Dury will play a fake again. To Stricker, makes a nice jump cut, now comes back to the middle. Stricker still on the loose, and he's going to be brought down at the 36-yard line. Stricker, their leading receiver on the year. He now has 6 catches for 65 yards. A little below his season average. Their leading rusher is Fontenot, 50 yards on 17 carries. 41 yards on 17 carries. This is Dury again, flushed out of the pocket by Borger, and he will run for a first down. Chased out of bounds by Ben Locos with 75 seconds left in the game.
Bad holding penalty that was not called.
Yeah. And the ref is watching it, too.
Yeah, that's the guilty party number.
I thought you were talking about the one in the backfield, too,
well,
on Toro.
That's Drew Neville, the starting left tackle, who got away with that one.
On Anthony, he held him very badly.
1st and 10 from the Wheaton 30. Dury will play fake again. Looks on the slant. It's complete to Murphy. Pat Murphy makes the tackle down to the 15-yard line, and this feels like WashU's touchdown drive a little bit, working against the Wheaton 3s and even 4s at this point, just keeping their starters in, trying to get points. Clock running, 1 minute to play. And back shoulder throw, and a flag comes out.
Of course.
Caleb Egbert going to be called for pass interference. That's a terrible call.
That is a horrible call.
That is a horrible call.
Just terrible. I don't even know what he saw. What could he have possibly seen there? The guy just lost his feet.
This has not been a good officiating day for this crew at all.
And what's sad about it is they're not interested in just getting off the field either at this point in the game.
That's a really bad call.
They're calling defensive holding on that play. This is a crew that has misjudged a lot of pass interference calls by not calling ones that should have been, calling ones that shouldn't be. They missed a fumble. That was clearly they called down by contact.
They have Fontenot back in the game.
And Fontenot's going to take the carry and be brought down. Should be 2nd and goal. Given it was defensive holding, it should have been an automatic first down. It should be 2nd and goal, I would imagine. The clock says so if the first down sticks over on the far side. And now Carthage is rushing to the line, trying to get a touchdown here before the clock expires. Going to throw again, and it's incomplete as Egbert with nice coverage that time on Murphy. Really no different coverage than the last time.
Pretty much the same play that he got called for holding.
Carroll falls to Augie 34-6. 28-28, WashU with the ball at their own 28-yard line with 3:42 to go. 66-14, the score over in Naperville. Looks like it's 3rd and goal. This will be Fontenot up the middle. He's going to be brought down.
He's short of the sticks. They may just let he's calling timeout. He is. I was like, he may just let it run out, but okay. Again, they're just trying to steal some of the.
This is a very young Carthage team as well. You got to coach your squad. The thing that I don't understand, if it's defensive holding, that's an automatic first down play. Why does it stay 4th and 1? This should be 4th and goal.
Coach Swider not happy about the Carthage coach calling a timeout here.
I wasn't real pleased with Larry Kinblom keeping his ones in and running the punt block late in that game as well.
Well, fortunately, this is a position that Wheaton has not been in a very, very long time where they're getting blown out like this. But Coach Swider is not one to throw a touchdown on with 10 seconds left in the game. So it's just get off the field, get this game over with.
Well, the good news is that defensive coordinator C.J. Nightingale can coach his guys up on the exact call he wants, the formation they think they're going to get, and what they're going to be looking to do. So the defense, I would anticipate them coming after him here.
This looks like it's going to be 4th and 1, which is
I don't get it.
It's a misapplication, which again I guess we shouldn't be surprised with this crew, but Dury's the quarterback, Fontenot in the backfield. Dury's going to keep it off the play fake, chased by Gers. Still looking into the end zone, touchdown Carthage. Pat Murphy makes the catch with 5 seconds left.
That annoys me. I can't even tell you how annoyed Coach Swider is right now.
And another hold missed there, as that was Briones trying to get off a block and chase the quarterback. Worth noting, Linfield leads Whitworth 21-14 at the end of the first quarter in what would be essentially the de facto championship game in that conference. Rod Sandberg tries to get his crew back into the playoffs in a game they have to win. Extra point is blocked.
Pick it up and go.
Robbie Schwartz going to be pick it up, and he's going to be tackled by Strickler.
That'd be something, right? Pick it up and return it for 2 points.
Well, that's how that's how Concordia got to St. John's last week.
Well, just in that specific situation where there's 5 seconds left in the game, you score a touchdown. We just talked about how that's not something Wheaton would do, but since they did it, why not?
5 seconds left, and you would expect that the kickoff return will be the last play of the game.
Just don't fair catch it.
Yeah, final score from Chicago, North Park 38, Elmhurst 14. And Wheaton will go on the road to face Elmhurst next week in the season finale.
Might go Hands team here, by the way.
They're going to bunch the group in the middle of the field just in case. Tucker is back along with Magnuson. Wheaton's going to move to 9-0. They clinched their postseason bid today, and they will go for the outright title next week over at Langhorst Field against the Blue Jays. They will kick this one into the wind. Magnuson calls for the fair catch.
Come on, man.
Well, Swider might have told him to do that so they could throw one deep here. You never know.
This has been the game that never ends. This has been a very long second half. We will not have our post-game interviews, as the crew will get packed up and make its way up to King Arena for the second half of today's WTSN doubleheader. Wheaton women's basketball team will host the University of Texas Dallas tonight in the season opener in a top 15 battle at King Arena. High expectations for Kent Madsen's crew coming into the season as they tip off tonight against the Comets. Wheaton will take a knee and roll out of here with a 55-6 victory over the Redmen. So an impressive effort by Mike Swider's crew today. Quick look at the final stats. Wheaton with 243 yards rushing, 247 yards passing. They outgained the Redmen 490 to 239. For the Thunder, Luke Anthony, 16 of 27, 211 yards and a touchdown. Dave Beamer, 2 of 5, 17 yards. Jeremiah Tucker, 2 of 4 for 19 yards. Torini leads the receivers, 7 catches for 112 yards. Sam Singleton leads the rushers, 7 carries for 59 yards as 3 carriers go over 40 yards rushing on the game. Again, 55-6 our total. We will not have a broadcast for you next week, but stay tuned tonight. A 6 o'clock tip-off between the Thunder and UT Dallas during the women's basketball season opener. And then, as things stand right now, we would assume we'd be back for the first round of the playoffs coming up in 2 weeks. But we'll have to wait a week from tomorrow, the selection show for the Division III tournament. For Doug Rothschild, Dan Studebaker, our outstanding production crew at Sunrise Communications, I'm Rusty Lindsay. Thanks for tuning in. The final score, 55-6. You've been watching Wheaton Thunder football from WTSN.